time? Brilliant stuff. Okay, so 12 minutes in, we will try to make up for that, hopefully. So welcome to another free training. Now, some of you who have been following me on Instagram and Facebook, you would know that it was my birthday last month, and I did promise that I was going to do this free training, and it is finally here. We have over 200 of you registered, which is fantastic and exciting. So welcome to this session. Now we're going to be talking, the focus for this masterclass is really how do you launch a career into project management or data privacy or business analysis. And I have with me my co-host who's going to introduce herself in a minute. She will be talking about project management. And so the agenda, we talk about Sterling Careers because this has been organized by Sterling Careers I am the director and CEO of Sterling Careers. And we'll talk about what you need to get started as a project manager or into project management, what you need to get started, how do you launch your career as a business analyst or as a privacy analyst. So the focus will be these three areas today. Okay, so let me quickly talk about Sterling Careers. As some of you already know, some of you have visited our site, some of you have been following us on Facebook or Instagram. So we are a training organization established in the UK, but we have a global reach, meaning we have people from Canada, from Nigeria, from Ghana, and of course, largely from the UK engaging with us on our programs. And so we have a global reach. And our focus really, we are known for project management courses, business analysis, privacy, data protection and privacy analysis. Well, we've done a bit of soft skills development, which we will be bringing back again, but we had to put it on hold because it didn't seem like as it was something a lot of people were that interested in. So we have an amazing team of people who are made up of IT professionals with experience across different domains, i.e. retail, financial services, higher education, software development, travel, automotive, pharmaceutical, amongst several others. And now we offer internship in the sense that when you come onto our program, the way the program works, we'll talk about that later, you will get an idea. You will, of course, have the opportunity to go through the theoretical aspect of these courses that we offer, but our flagship or our unique, what we're known for is the fact that we believe in helping you to learn by doing. And it means that we are very, very hands-on. So people who have joined us, at the moment or previously will know that we don't talk too much about theory. We do that because you need to understand the fundamentals. You need to understand the basics. But we are very, very big on hands-on experience because that is what really moves the needle. And that is what will give you the job. So we get people reaching out to us and they ask us questions like, certifications, what certification do I need? And people get hung up on that a lot. But then I say to you, while they are extremely relevant, but the fact that you have 5, 10 certification in business analysis, project management, and all those other things does not give you the automatic guarantee of securing the job. So what we do is help you to be job market ready, to get on so that the day you get your job, you're able to hit the ground running. And how do we do that is through our projects. So our projects are not, scenario made up projects. They are real life projects that we need as a business. And so, you will get an idea of how projects are delivered. You work on projects either as a project manager, a business analyst, or any of the other areas. Who am I? I already mentioned that. Why am I passionate about this? I came into the UK almost 20 years now to do a master's in human resource management. And of course, when I came in, I wanted to get into corporate UK, but it was difficult for me because I kept getting that answer or response, you don't have UK-based experience. It was really tricky. The person who I'm co-hosting with today actually was one of the people I spoke to. And I said, I don't want to do teaching assistant anymore. I don't want to be a customer service. I don't want to do all these jobs. I want something more. I want something better. And I can't seem to be able to break into HR. And she says, oh, have you considered getting into the tech space as a business analyst? I'll cut the long story short. I then started on that journey. And eventually I was able to learn how to pick up the experience as a business analyst. And I secured my first contract role as an IT business analyst for one of the UK universities. I moved from earning £7.50, £8 an hour to £450 a day. So this is very possible. And I saw that that was possible. And it made me think that, okay, you know what, there's so many people like myself who need to know that this is possible. And that's how I started. So I think I will pause now and let my co-host introduce herself, because as she finishes introducing herself, she will then segue into the first thing that we are focusing on today, which is project management. So over to you, Olaide.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So my name is Olaide George, and I will be facilitating the project management part of this TISTA session. Well, let me just a brief introduction of who I am. I came to the UK about 15 years ago, and with a background in law. Back home in Nigeria, I was a lawyer. I practiced law for almost 10 years before I moved to the UK to join my husband. And, you know, getting here, I was just like, I was looking for something that I would do without me having to, you know, compromise my standards and all that. You know, I had the chambers in Nigeria, and I don't want to go and do anything that would, you know, be detrimental and all that. So someone introduced me to business analysis and project management, and I just felt more at ease with project management, kind of like related to, you know, my background. And I did some training, some in-house training. Then, you know, all these platforms were not there. Yeah, so I just had a couple of friends who've been doing it. They trained me and all that, and then I did some professional exams. I did that. Prince 2 was the first professional exam I did in the UK, and I passed my foundation, passed my practitioner exams, and I started looking for jobs. I put together my CV, started looking for jobs, and I think after about the fourth interview, I got my very first role as a PMO assistant. And, you know, there were about 3 of us that interviewed. I was the best, even though I had no experience apart from, you know, just reading about what needs to be done and, you know, taking the Prince 2 exam. And since then, I've never looked back. I have a master's in project management, and that's just for my own gratification, really. It's not as if it's compulsory that you have to have an MSc in project management or anything. You know, so you don't have to do that. But I just wanted to do that from an academic part of view. And I've worked in various organizations, in automotive industries, different IT companies and all that, different multinationals as well, gaining experience. And I've never looked back. It's very lucrative. So I call myself a project management professional. I've worked as PMO, assistant PMO, analyst, senior PMO. I've managed projects as a project manager, and, you know, and the list is endless. So it's yeah, I think you are in the right place right now, you know, with Sterling Careers. Hopefully you guys will be able to sign on at the end of the day. But then, so that's just me in a nutshell. So if you can go to the next slide.
Okay, so I was gonna, I will talk about this, but let's go into, actually, just a minute, Lydia, let me, so that, because we may not have time, let me just quickly talk about what this means. This just means that you really do not have to start from the scratch. What it means that you can leverage your existing skills. So you would have heard that Lydia mentioned the fact that she had she sort of you know went leaned towards project management because she felt that that was more suitable based on her background and experience that she had even as a lawyer and other things that she had done. And most of you would hear me talk about the fact that yes, you want to get into the tech space, you don't have to, you know, start from entry level. So you can leverage existing skills that you have, but you need to first of all understand what those skills are, and you need to do what we call a skills gap analysis. That is, something for another day. But then so that you can say, okay, let me see what a project manager does. So like today, Olaide will talk about project management. And one thing you want to do as you are listening, you need to start thinking, okay, this is something that, looks like something I can do, or that I had done before, but maybe just not called a project manager or not called a business analyst, but the exact skills required, there are things that you have and you can leverage. So we normally will say, look at those skills, and then you can take advantage of that. It's about positioning. It's about packaging. And most of you know, I talk about that. It's about how you package yourself to say, I'm coming from Africa. And while I was in Africa, I was in sales, I was in customer service. But what did you do? What were the skills that you picked up? What experience did you pick up in the course of, doing any of these jobs that you did? So regardless of where you're coming from, a skill is a skill. So that's what this statement actually means. And so you can start thinking about how you can leverage. Now, this is just a success story of one of or two of the people who have been on the program with us, no technical background. Helen was a lawyer as well, like Olaide, also from Nigeria. She went into business analysis. I think she had 2 offers at this time. This is like really old. But now she's a thriving, professional in the tech space. Esther also was in care for a good number of years, got into project management. Ade was also into technical sales, but he's now thriving as a business analyst. So you can leverage what you have. It's just knowing how to do that. It's just understanding the skills required for the area that you want to go. So as Olaide goes into project management now, she will talk about the day in the life of a project manager. She'll talk about the skills that you require. Start making your notes to say, oh, actually, this is what I was doing back home, or even what I'm doing now. And these skills I already have. And it's about how you package that and then you launch out. Of course, there'll be other things that you need to put on top to give you an edge. But first of all, you want to start with what you have. Most of you who listen to me will hear me say, what do you have in your hand? So you're not starting from ground zero, but you're starting with something in your hand. So we'll go into project management now while Olaide comes up. Over to you, Olaide.
Yes, thanks, Veronica. Okay, so before I go into the introduction of project management, I just want to say that for you to go into this industry and all that, or start working in the project, start working in a project or anything, you would probably as a BA or as a data privacy analyst or whatever it is that you decide that you want to do, there will always be a project for you to be that you'll be involved in. So as a BA, there's a project that you'll be involved in. As a data privacy analyst, there can be a project. So this is the how do I put it, the main for you to now to get into that industry and everything, this is what you need to really focus on, projects, because companies, organizations and all that, most of them, they embark on projects, and there's so many reasons why they embark on projects. Some of them, they embark on projects to improve their ways of working, improve their processes, transform their businesses. They can embark on projects just make their IT department better or things like that. So there are so many reasons, really. Some is just for them to be better than their competitors and everything. And then they embark on projects. So what is a project? So project is, well, I'll just read it from the temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, services, and results. And what that simply means is this: projects they're not permanent. So you have your business as usual in the organization. When you go to your offices and all that, there are things that you do on a daily basis as within your role and all that. But projects are temporary. They're just set up kind of like when there is when there is an initiative, let me put it that way, that okay, we're looking at our business, we're not doing well in the, within this, we're not doing well, we need to improve the things that we're doing, we need to improve our services, we need to make life better for our, our staffs, our customers. What can we do? So so organizations can just sit down and come up with an initiative, to improve those things, or to just be better at what they do, or to introduce new products or new services and all that. So most of them, they do this as a project, and then they now bring in different people that will work on that project. So it is temporary. There is no, you do not have a lifetime timeline. Let me just put that way. You can be given a month to complete a project, you can be given a year or 2 years, but it is always temporary. There's a timeline to it. There's a start, there is an end. Apart from the start and end, there is always also money associated with it. You will be given a budget. This is how much we are giving you for this project that you are embarking on. That is what you have to spend. That means you have to, within that, you can still get, let's just leave it on here. Thank you. So, this is how much we're going to give you. That is how much you're going to spend. We are not going to go beyond this project at this budget. So that means you also have to work within that budget, work within the timeline. And, they also give you, quality criteria. Let me just put it that way. This is what we want you to deliver for us. We want you to deliver a new website for our organization, or we want you to improve or revamp our website, or we want you to roll out Office 365, or we want you to change our processes. We want to transform the way that we do things within this organization. That is it. And this is how much we are spending. We are spending that on the resources, including human resources, material resources, and all that. So I've talked about the timeline, I've talked about the budget, and within that as well, and as well as the quality, because at the end of the day, what you are delivering also have to be fit for purpose. That's when you now say you have a successful, you have delivered a successful budget. So timeline, the quality, the budget as well. So when you are talking about project, just let it be at the back of your mind that it's always temporary. You can go into an organization or a business as a contractor, where you just work for a year, or even less than a year, or even 6 weeks or 6 months, working on the project before you move on to other projects and all that. So it's temporary, and it is always undertaking to just to create something new for the organization. Something that would improve ways of working, that can, also help the organization to be profitable. So that's project. And it's just like, let's just use the basic example now. You are building a house. That is the project. It is temporary, because at the process of building, once you complete it, that means that's the end of the project. Once you complete and you hand over the keys to the owner of the house or whatever, that's the end of the project. So I'll just use that as a basic example for you. Now, going to what is project management. So that is the process of you, working on the project, managing the project, organizing, monitoring, controlling, and implementing the changes. Because with the project, that means there's going to be a change. Things will not remain the same. You are embarking on this project to create change. There's what we also call change management also under project management, but we'll get into that at some point, later. But then, so you are embarking on that project to create a change, to create something new, or to improve what you already have, to have better processes and things like that. So that means there will be a change. So you're managing the project management. Project management is that process where you organize, you monitor, you control, you implement those changes that will come about as a result of your delivering the project within an organization. So for someone that wants to work as a project manager now, for instance, you want to go in and you want to be in charge of ensuring, organizing your team, monitoring your team and all that, but at the same time delivering, within the constraints that you have, your constraints of your timeline, of your budget, of your quality. I'm trying to remember the fourth one. You're working within those constraints. So you go in like you're just in charge, like just yourself as kind of like a managing director. Let me just use it that way. But then we call them project managers. So that's project management. And within the project, we have what we call the project life cycle. As I said initially, that projects are temporary. There's a start, to the project, and there's a finish date. You know, you have a timeline from the inception, you know, of the initiative to when you start talking about, you know, looking at kind of like, okay, so what do we need to do? Understanding what you have been called to do, understanding the project, understanding the scope of the project. Let me put it that way. For you know, and so from that we talk about the project life cycle. So in project management, you know, we have different phases really, and it all depends on the methodology. Yeah, I won't go into that right now. We have like the agile methodology, we have the waterfall and all that. So let me use the waterfall. That is when you go from one phase or one step or one stage to the other in your project. So when we start a project, that is when we start. That is when the inception starts. That is when you start conceiving what is it that you want to do. What are we doing in this? You know, what do we want to do? So let me just use an example. So I would say, let's use a website a creation project. Let me just put it that way. That okay, you are creating a website for selling careers and all that. That is your brief. That is the project that we are going to work on. That is the brief that you have been given, that you guys, we put it together as a team. We want you to work in creating a website for selling career. And that's the example I'm going to use throughout this section with you. And the first thing is that once we have that, we have that is the initiative. We've been given your scope. You know, this is what we want you to do. Create a website. That is the scope of your project. That is the initiation phase. That is the start, you know, stage of your project. So on here we have the first phase in which the value and feasibilities are measured. Yes, so that is where you look at it. Okay, are we going to be able to do this, you know, within the timeline that we are giving? You know, that you start looking at the budget, the resources that you need, the things that you need to put in place, you know, to ensure that, okay, yes, we can go on to next phase. Oh yes, this project is doable. It's something that we can do. Does the organization has the capability really of, you know, of creating a new website? Do they have the right infrastructure in place? Do they have the right resource and all that in place? You know, those things, you know, you sit down at that stage. That is when all those things are measured, you know, what needs to be done. And then once you get past that, you know, when you get past that, then you now start thinking of the planning phase of your project. And this is where you pull together a plan of everything that needs to be done in the project. You know, you can relate this to your everyday life, things that you do. You know, most times, like for me, for instance, now on a weekly basis, I have a plan. That's just personal plan of what I need to do. I have a calendar. It's just like a calendar, all the things that you need to do on a daily basis and all that. So you have a plan of what you need to do. So for the website project, what do we need to do? We first need our resources, the right resources to be in place. We need a PM. We need a project analyst or a project support. We need a BA to work with us. We need testers. We need those that will build the website, you know, things like that. So you want to do at that stage, you want to start planning, you know, what are the things that I need to do? You know, you have there must be a direction in terms of your resources, your budget, your timeline as well. What, you know, you put together a plan, like it's just like a list of things that needs to be done, that you need to do. So this is just, you know, high level really, but it's just for you to get a feel of what you need to do. And once you get past that, you know, the planning, that's a sign off and all that, then the execution. This is where you now start implementing your plan. So you have a plan, you have a list of activities that needs to be done, or let me say list of tasks that you need to do, and then that you need to start implementing that. With your plan, you have those that will execute the plan. You know, you have resources, who is going to do A, who is going to do B, C, D, and whatever and all that. So it is when you get to the execution, that is when you start implementing those tasks. You start actioning those tasks that you have in place, you know, to build your website. You know, so that is where you build your deliverables. You know, the main deliverable there is to have a completed website that people can log on to, that they can get, for instance, all the information they need about selling careers. You know, with just one click, they can make payments. One click, they can access their learning materials. One click, they can, you know, do whatever that, you know, needs to be done. So at that execution, that is when it is built. That's when we have web designers and all that's involved. And then the next phase that you now go, you know, so once it's been executed and all that, at that stage as well, and the build has been done, that's when the test is also done. You want to test the website before going live with it. And I'll explain what I mean by going live. You want to test it, you put it into an environment where your team can go in there, they can test, make sure everything works fine, make sure that customer journeys and all that it's smooth and things like that. All those good stuff that you are putting onto the website, they all work fine. Then test is completed, is signed off, you can now go live with it. And once you go live, that's kind of like you are reaching the end of that project and all that. So once you go live, people can log on, customers can log on and all that. And then the last phase is when you now, you close the project, you give kind of like an account, lessons learned. Projects don't always go to plan. The issues that you faced on the project, risk that were involved, things that went well, that didn't go well. At the last phase, you do an analysis of that. You sit together with your team, you pull together like a lesson learned plan. So this is just a brief summary of what projects are. When you get into a project, what are the things that you're expected to do? It's not as if that they give you a project to implement and all that, or to deliver, and just module everything of things. Projects there's always a step-by-step phase of what you need to do from the start to the end. And this just make life easy for you, as a project manager or whatever it is that you are working as whatever your role is, really. Because once that you have a plan of what you need to do, it helps guide you in the execution. And you go from one phase to another, And the caveat here is that once at the end of each phase, there's always like a sign off by your project sponsors, or whoever is paying for the project. The company will have to sign off that, okay, we're satisfied with what you've done for the first phase. Okay, move on to second phase. You move on to the second phase. That's also signed off. So that's just a typical project life cycle that I've given you. And that's more like waterfall. Agile is different, but you would learn that as you go on and everything. But then this is just a brief summary of what project management is, and a brief intro of what project management is. As I said earlier, if you can move on to the next slide, please. As I said earlier, it's a temporary endeavor. It's temporary. It's time boxed. There's a budget to it. You want to work within that timeline, within the budget that you have been given to you as well, and with the resources that you have. And that's it. Any question on this before I move on? Are we all on the same page? It's fine. I know there's just a lot of people here, but then if there are no questions, I would move on.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, please. Yes.
Okay. For the planning, can we liken the planning to having like what is called a Gantt chart?
Yeah. So your Gantt chart is so your planning is there. Let me just say yes. I'll say yes to that, and I'll explain how that works. So now, for instance, now you have let me just mention one of the two. Let me just mention Microsoft Excel now, or Microsoft Project, which is what we use mainly. There are other tools that we are going to get into that we use for planning, putting together your plan and all that. It generates, for instance, MS Project generates your Gantt chart. So as you are putting all your tasks on the line and all that, if you look at the screen, it generates your Gantt chart. So it shows kind of like a pictorial view of those tasks that you want to do. It helps you to see, the flow of things and all that, dependencies and all that. So it's kind of like a Gantt chart, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just quickly chime in? So before the Gantt chart is even generated, you need to put in a list of activities and like a schedule. So you put on what you need to do, when you need to do it, and if resources is something you are also capturing. So the Gantt chart is just the visual or pictorial view, but you have to plan it first. The Gantt chart just will give you a quick snapshot. So if you want to say, okay, this is how it looks, without having to go into the Excel that has the detail. You just want to report to senior management. So because a lot of senior managers don't have time for that, going to Excel to see all individual activities. Well, the Gantt chart view will just tell them, okay, this is what we are doing. These are the key milestones. these are the dates that we're looking at, and and it's enough for them to be able to get an understanding of where the project is. So Gantt chart is just a pictorial view, but you need to plan, you need to put your activities in either Excel or any of the tools that Olaide has mentioned. All right, does that make sense? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, so so just to add to that, so with your list of activities, as you mentioned, you have your milestones and all that, those key deliverables, those are the ones that you also want to highlight on the Gantt chart, so that when you're presenting to your sponsors, they get to see where you are and everything, and that you're on track, or whether you're not on track, or whatever it is. But but that's just a pictorial view. But then you have to have data there must be a data behind that, and that is your list of activities. So for project management roles, so there are so many roles nowadays. There's with early days, you have the project analyst or project support, but then there are so many roles now popping up, and that depends on the activities that you'll be asked to do. So I'll just start with some of the senior roles. You have the head of portfolio management, and what portfolio simply means is that so within the portfolio you have programs, and then within programs you have projects. So at project levels, these are kind of like individual initiatives that you are delivering and all that. But then, so where you have multiple projects, different projects, like running into hundreds and all that, they want to group that onto program level, that those programs are related, or those projects are related to the program. So let me put it that way. So you have like 6 programs that are related to the website's program now. So they all sit under the website program, and then you have a portfolio that sits, that's the overarching, that sits right on top of everything. And under that you have programs, and then under your programs you have multiple projects. So you have the head of portfolio sits on top of everything. That is same level, can be at the same level as the project sponsors and execs and all that. You have the project manager, you are managing your individual projects. In some cases you can have multiple projects that you will be asked to deliver, not just like one project. I've been in a situation where I'm giving like multiple projects to deliver, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, depending on how your capability and everything. And then you have the program manager too. So the program manager is more senior, that is a senior, senior follows really the portfolio head of portfolio management. So that manages the program. You have the PMO manager. Now the PMO manager sits within what we call the project management office, and I'll get into that. The project management office is kind of like a center of excellence. They are the ones that monitors and controls the activities of project managers, controls the activities of people working on projects. They kind of provide assurance to the head of portfolio, to the sponsors, to people at the exec level and all that. So you have a PMO manager that manages PMO lead, and then you have a PMO lead that can manage the senior PMO analyst. We have a portfolio analyst as that. So that's just like a kind of like hierarchy of of those senior roles. And then for stepping stones, it's not everybody that is comfortable with like just applying for a job of a portfolio manager, or of a head of portfolio or PMO manager or whatever. You probably want to gain more experience, just learn the basic and everything. If you want to look at stepping stones to get into project management, then you're looking at PMO, just the PMO, project management office, officer or whatever it is. You have or the project coordinator, project administrator, which is more admin role. We'll get into that. Project support officer, PMO analyst and all that. So if you want to look at that in terms of, okay, I'm more comfortable going into these stepping stone roles before, and then let me just work my way up to the top, which is where I started. I started as a PMO, I think PMO assistant, I can't remember now and all that. And, I just worked my way to the top. Some people are very lucky, they get jobs as project managers straight away. That's fine. You can, when you work hard and all that, and you know what you're doing. But then, so these are just likely roles that you get into if you want to look at if you're interested in project management. So if you go to the next, so this is just a quick one. This is just opportunities are there. It's not limited to this. So you can work as a contractor or a permanent staff. Contract roles are very lucrative because you get paid daily. Yeah. Now that we have RR35, it's a bit frustrating, but before RR35, you get paid into your company, you do whatever you like with your money. But of course, you pay your taxes and all that. But then, when you have a very good accountant, there's a way to manage it. So it's for contract roles from 350 to 450, even more than that. With RR35 now, you are looking at 450, 500, 550, because, the employers will take into account the fact that you are paying, high rates tax and everything. So it's for contract role. For permanent role, 40 to 60, you get 65, at the entry level, depending on the organizations. Now, when you now get to those senior roles, you start looking at 70, 75, 80. A senior PMO analyst now, you start looking at between 70, 75, 80, and head of portfolio, it's in 6 figures. So that's the way it works. But then, it comes with, hard work and all that. But this is just a basic, opportunity here. So what you need to get started. So what do we need to get started? Yeah. So you want to understand the purpose of the role and the knowledge. So you can't just jump in and say, okay, I want to apply for a PMO analyst role and all that without even understanding what you need, what is expected of you. Because with these roles that you are going in not as, even though it's entry level, but you're not going as an apprentice or anything. You are going in as a professional that knows what he or she is doing. For these roles, when they advertise, they are taking it that you already have experience. So you are going as a kind of a professional, as a kind of consultant. Let me even put it that way. Even the PMO analyst, they see you as a consultant because, for instance, they want to contract you now. So you are going with that mindset that you know what you are doing, and they are employing you with the mindset that you know what you are doing. You are coming to add value and all that. So you need to understand what those roles entails, what is expected of you. So we just quickly delve into some of these entry-level roles: project coordinator, project support, and project analyst role. So let's go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So what you need in terms of skills for a project support, which is the basic level, really, you have to have good oral and written communication skills. You have to be confident in talking. You don't have to be technical. So don't start thinking of how do I, you don't have to be technical, you understand, but at least be able to talk, be able to, to talk to people at different levels, be able to express yourself in a way that they understand. That is what really matters. You want to be able to engage as well, because what I've noticed from my experience, when I started out, I was very quiet. And I think because it was a bit intimidating. So I went on, I started my first role with a CV that I pulled together. I didn't really have that much experience or anything. So it was a bit daunting for me. But then, with you guys now, the good thing is that you have organizations that would, provide you with training, like such as Sterling Careers and all that. You get to work on real life projects. You're already talking to people within the team. You're already doing what needs to be done. So it gives you that more that confidence, when you're talking and all that, because most of employers and all that, they want you to engage. They don't want you to be sending emails or whatever, or when they're talking to you and you're not able to talk. You don't have to be technical, as I said, but at least talk, and let's talk back to me anyhow and everything. So you have to be able to manage your time. You have to be able to monitor, and then reporting as well, because as a project support, you may be asked to report, maybe just to support the project manager in putting together reports. So project managers, for instance, on a weekly basis now and all that, or bi-weekly basis and all that, they pull together reports. And this is simply looking at all the things and updates on things that they've done during the week or over the last 2 weeks or over the last month, depending on the governance in place in the organization. So you just want to put together a report of what you have done, what your issues that you have and all that. I will go into that shortly, and things like that you want to. So as a project support, you may be supporting the project manager in doing that. Project coordinator, similar. lead the same thing and all that. We just started collaborating, but really as a project support as well, you also collaborate. You know, you help to ensure that within the team, they are collaborating, they have meetings, you set up meetings, for instance, as a project support, you go into the meetings, you take minutes, you know, things like that, you type the minutes, you just like providing support for all the organizations, for the organization. And PMO analysts, well, we've added some more, you know, you're reporting them, but analysis, you have to be analytical. And that's because in some cases, yeah, you have multiple projects and they'll ask you to go and, you know, and multiple projects, multiple, you have multiple projects and you have multiple reports, you know, for the project and all that, and you can be asked to like go and look at all those reports, summarize it and put it together into like a one slider or 2 slides or whatever it is. So that means you have to be able to look at the project updates and things like that, look at the common themes within the project updates that you want to put together into the report that you're asked to do. So you have to be analytic. What are the common things? What are the issues that they're having? What is it, budgetary, or is it resources and all that? Then you want to go onto your own report and, you know, summarize that for them. So you also have to be able to collaborate, influence others as well. You want to influence, like you have project managers, you have situations where project managers, I'll come to you, Denham. Just give me 1 second. I'll come to you. I've seen your hands raised up. 1 second. You have situations where project managers are not reporting properly and all that. You want to challenge them, you want to influence them, apart from providing support for them, but that providing the assurance and then facilitating as we are doing as well. You can sit with it in a team meeting and they ask you to facilitate the team meeting. They ask you to walk through reports and things like that. Denham, you got a question? You have your hands raised up.
Just sorry,
Yeah.
just a quick one. I know I came in late. Yeah, but I just want to see. I don't know, maybe you've discussed this before, but I just want to see. So when you talk about reporting and analyzing, which tool do you use? Is this email that I used to give this report, or what do you use to give this report?
All right, so there's so many tools I use. It depends on the organization. It can be just plain report on Microsoft Words. I tell you that I've seen that before. It can be on slides, PowerPoint slides, you know, PowerPoint slides and all that. You know, you can put your report together onto that. And they can give you software tools, like you have different PPM tools, such as, you know, your SharePoint. Your reports can be, you can, you know, type in your report and all that onto SharePoint. You can pull reports from Monday.com. We get into those tools now, I think, after this and all that. So it depends on the tools that you are giving. You understand? You can pull report from Microsoft project, your project plan, you know, because with Microsoft project, you can pull reports. You can put summary of milestones that are laid, summary of milestones that are on track, things like that. So it all depends. When I say reports, I'm talking about a summary of the updates on what you are doing. You're talking about challenges that you have, for instance, in your report, you know, just key challenges, those key risks and issues that can impact your project. You want to highlight them so that your sponsors, people that are paying, they can have, you provide them with the data to make informed decisions. You understand what I'm saying? There's nothing to hide. If you're having issues, you put it there. There's what we call the RAC status. We get into that as well. Red, amber, green. So within your report, you want to put your RAC status. We are green. Green means that you are okay. You don't have any risk. You don't have any issues. You don't have anything to escalate. You are fine. Everything is working fine. Your resources, you are okay with that. Your budget, you are within budget. You are within time and everything. You are amber. That means you're having some issues, but then they are within tolerance. You can manage. You can still manage there and all that. And then if you are red, that means you want to escalate. You have issues that you cannot resolve yourself. You need your ESCOs or your steering committee. Those are the ones that make decision and all that. To make decision, you provide them with information that you need their help and all that. So it depends. Different tools that you use. As I said, most Microsoft projects, you can report can even be in Excel. I've seen that before. In PowerPoint, you know, MS Office Suite and all that, Monday.com. There are so many tools, SharePoint, you know, it all depends on the organization. Confluence, you use Confluence, you use Jira, you can pull reports from Jira as well and all that. So it all depends. So it's the list is endless. It depends on the
I wanted to
organization.
say, sorry, Olaide, to cut you, because
Yeah.
he mentioned something which I wanted to just, so he says he's just writing it in emails. So
No.
I think what Olaide has just mentioned, you will need to put your report together. You need to generate the report. Let's put it that way. And then you can send it by email. So you can either send it to the people who need to look at the reports, or you can share the documents with them, or you can present it in an update meeting. So there are different ways, but the report would need to be generated first, which is what Olaide has said. And some of the tools that have been mentioned will enable you to pull the report together. But you need to do that first, and then you can send it by email, or you present it, at a status update meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. And if I just add to that, if you send by email, still expect to have a status update meeting. You understand what I'm trying to say? So you send your report by email, that you send it well ahead for people to read it, so that they can come up with their questions or whatever it is when you have your update meetings. Most times they use an update meeting, to review the reports. So, and then you talk through it. Hope that answers your question.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, it's fine. If we can go to the next. So this is just brief summary of the skills and all that. So we want to look at a day in the life of a project coordinator. And what we've just done is that we just streamlined this, just pick a few of those roles, those entry-level roles and all that, and see what your day will look like, as a project coordinator or as a project support or whatever it is. So you get in on your day one or whatever on the Monday and everything. You already have access to the tools that you need. You have your laptop, you have your desktop. It all depends on, if you are working remotely, or you have to go into the office or whatever it is and everything. Of course, and then you have things that you do as kind of like on a regular basis, when you jump in on first day, at least you want to talk about, we're talking about communications, you will have meetings. Like on a Monday morning now, you have, if for instance, you are working on an agile project and all that, where we have sprint deliveries and everything, probably you want to have the stand-ups in the morning, and you join the meeting. It's just doesn't take more than 10, 15 minutes, depending on the complexity of the project or whatever it is that you're working on and all that. So you definitely have meetings, you want to check your emails, you have emails from your colleagues, from team members asking you for things, asking you to do something for them. You also talk face to face, with your team. That is, you are working, if you are not working remotely, and if you are working remotely, you still want to check your email. That's the start. You want to look at what emails you've got since you last opened your laptop, or or the tools that they are provided for you. You want to look at, because there can be urgent emails coming through to you, so you want to make sure that you're on top of it. You can just quickly do a summary of what you need to do on that day. You want to attend to the depending on if you have urgent ask and everything. That means those ad hoc urgent tasks, you want to deal with them before you go into your business as usual, what you would do on a daily basis. Problem solving, when for instance you have an urgent task, now it can be for you to help them with some schedules, or you help them with some resources, or difficult people, or whatever it is that you are dealing with. So these are some of the things that you deal with on a daily basis. You work with people that are difficult, that will make life difficult for you, but you also work with people that would support you in all ways. So just take it as like what you are doing right now. You take it as whatever work that you guys are all doing, that what you do on a daily basis. That's the way the day in your life is when you when you start work. But the first thing I do, really, it's irrespective of whether I'm project coordinator or whatever it is, when I open my laptop, I want to quickly scan through my emails, look at the ones that are urgent, and depending on how good you have with all this, with all these tools, you want to put them onto, maybe you have like folders and all that. So you want to put the ones that are urgent into a folder that you get back to, and then leave the others. So just scan through my emails and everything. If I've got meetings, attend my meetings, and then get back to my planning, or get back to what else I need to do. You are the point of contact as a project coordinator. They will come to you, they ask you questions. Where document storage, you know where all your documents are stored, SharePoint, whatever repository that is being used. You will know who is who. They want to talk to the project manager, program manager, things like that. They'll direct questions to you. You also are kind of like a center of excellence, really. They expect you to know everything. Let me just put it that way. Or you know someone that will be able to, that would know if you don't know. Documentation, you also manage documents as well. Ensure documents are in the right places. When your project managers, for instance, now are storing document, there is a folder for them for their report. There is their raid log to ensure that their raids are updated. The raid log is the risk issues, your actions, dependencies log. We'll get into that shortly now. So the right documentation, the planning, reporting as well. You help to coordinate reporting. You support the project manager with reporting, or you also support your program manager. It all depends in putting together reports, but that's what is expected. You have to be on your toes, and you have to be ready to get your hands dirty, and that is how you also learn and progress in this in this industry. As a PMO analyst, you have to be more analytical. You work within the project management office, and the things you do briefly, really, you have to understand reporting mechanism. Simply is how your reports are done, how they are generated, when, in terms of what's the cadence and things like that. So that's part of it. You are part of decision-making process, because you are also providing the data that is needed for informed decision. You are part of project management governance. You're talking about meetings that needs to be held for decisions to be made, or team meetings for updates, risk review meetings and things like that. So that's part of project governance. Change management, how do we manage change within the project? If there's anything that needs to be changed, already we have a scope for our website project, for instance, now. But then we need to make a change. So how do we do that? The project analyst would also sit within what we call the project control board, where they review any changes that the PM may have to the project, and just to see whether they should go ahead or not go ahead. So it's more. So as a PMO analyst, you do everything the PMO support does, or the project coordinator does, but then you have to be more analytical. You have to be more problem solving as well. Think fast, and just be hands-on with everything. So yes, I've talked about decision-making process, management, governance, risk and issue management, and all that. And also sometimes you'll be asked to manage finances as well. There is a budget, so you want to look at accruals, what has been spent, ensure that you are still spending within the budget, and if you are going up over the budget, what needs to be done. You want to talk to your execs and all that to provide more money, but then there is a process to be able to get that done. So you track resources, make sure that you have enough resources to deliver the tasks that you have, and where you are struggling, what needs to be done. You work with the project manager to maybe level resources, or getting more people, or what needs to be done. Really just prioritize workloads on. So that's mainly it, really. And the reporting, that's really key. And I think I keep mentioning reporting. It's fine. I keep mentioning reporting because you can't just be delivering a project without you giving updates. The people paying for the project, your sponsors, they must know what you are doing. You must provide them with an update. So your reports carries those details that they need, to help them, just give them an highlight, understand what you are doing, and that you are delivering with time and all that. So here we're looking at some of your project deliverables and documents. So within the project, it's all this. So your project deliverable, for instance, now your main deliverable for your website project is having a website. That is, we launch our website and we go live with it. People are that is your key deliverable. But then for you to get to that key major milestone, there are other deliverables that you need to, things that you need to complete for you to get to that. So they can be tangible or intangible. Tangible means something that you can see physically. Intangibles are the ones that you can't see. It can be, in terms of, goods and services. For instance, now it's a website. We can see it. Of course, we can't hold it or anything. But then the end product is having that website and all that. Your deliverables can also be like documents, your reports. It can be reports. It can be like, for instance, now in some organizations, the projects that they deliver mainly is policies and regulations. Those are projects, really. You know, they put they embark on projects to write policies for different organizations. You understand? Like, let's just say, look at the Financial Conduct Authority now, for instance. Now, so they control the conduct of financial organization within the UK. So mainly the projects they work on mainly is writing policies and all that. So funny enough, but that is it. That's the project as well. So it can be documentary, it can be reports, it can be processes, procedures, it can be products. Those are some examples of your deliverables. And within the life cycle of your project, you have documents that you create. For instance, now at the end of phase 1, when you initiate the project, you start the project, when you complete it, at the end of that phase 1, you want to come up, you want to sign off your, what we call the PID, your project initiation document. You want to maybe sign off your business case, which is a summary that justifies you're embarking on the project. You know, you write the milestones, the costs, and all that is there. So sometimes you have some documents that will be signed off as part of your phases, and then you go on to phase 2. At the end of the, when you design, you have your design documents and things like that. You build test scripts at the end when you get to the test stage and all that. So at the end of each phase, there are some document deliverables, you know, that you get signed off, and then before you progress. So it all depends, and there are so many, you know, the list is endless. And to help you track this, you can have a tracker. You can be a work product log, or it can be a deliverables tracker, which lists or itemizes all the deliverables that you would deliver, that you get signed off as part of the project. An example are you have your SOP, that is the standard operating procedures, and it's just like, well, it's not just because it's a big deal for organizations, because that's documents how their procedures, the processes and all that within the organizations, things, the steps of how the steps by steps of their processes, let me put it that way, and all that. And that's just to help workers really, you know, they go back to it and look at, okay, if we need to, if, for instance, we are working within the accounts payable department now, and we want to make payments to our employees and all that, what are the processes that we need to do? So the SOP documents those processes so that whoever is going into it will be able to read the SOP and know what needs to be done. You know, it can be dashboards. Dashboards are just summary, like pictorial summary of your project, you know, your RAD status, your key risk and things like that, your budget and all that. It's just a one slide. It's just a slide, you know, just showing those updates. What else is there? I'm just looking at it. You have your project charter, and that just documents your brief, the brief that you have been given. It documents your mandate. Let me just put it that way. Okay, go and deliver the website project. You document that, you know, you have a summary of it, list of, you know, you can have your resources on it. You have kind of risk that has been identified, identify your costs, milestones that you need to, you know, those key milestones. The milestones, I've been mentioning milestones. I'm not sure if I've explained that. So milestones are those key highlights of your project. That is what kind of like, let me just say, what's celebrating, let me just put it that way. So at the end of, you know, we have 5 phases of your project now. At the end of your initiation phase, that is a key milestone. If you complete that and it's signed off, that means you are going to the next phase. So that is the key milestone. So that's a milestone. So your project charter can be part of that, documents, deliverables that you get signed off, you know, as part of that. You have your RAID log, your risk impact determination, you have your plan. Those are some documents, stakeholder engagement plan, change management plan as well, deployment plan, training documents. You don't want to just roll out, you don't want to just deliver a project without it being fit for purpose. Not being fit for purpose can mean if you don't train those that will use what you are rolling out, that means that if you don't train them, they won't be able to use it. So, you know, at the end of the day is, you know, so you've got a problem. So this is just examples of deliverables, and they're also endless, and it depends on organization. But the key ones that you come across in all organizations, you have your RAID. There is always a RAID log. There's always a project charter, mandate, or brief. You know, you come across that. Stakeholder, a plan. That is your Bible. It's everything. It documents everything you are doing on the project. So those are some of the key things, key document deliverables that you come across, when you start working, they are very key. You will see them, your solution blueprint as a requirement document as well. So next slide. So we just want to walk through some, I think templates. So these are just your PPM tools and examples. So for instance, with selling careers, you've got the Google Workspace, you got Basecamp, you got Confluence, Monday.com, I've added SharePoint to that. And the list is endless, there are so many tools. Businesses will provide you with different PPM tools, some that you've not, even if you have 20 years experience, you've not heard about them before. It all depends on where you are lucky to get a job and what they provide you with. So the list PPM tools are endless. You can type on the internet and you get a long list of PPM tools. That's projects, portfolio project management tools and all that. So
So what I was thinking, sorry, Olaide, maybe we've covered this, and then the previous slide said we're going to show you exactly. I know we're not doing great for time, but we'll see. So maybe you talk about this, and then I will quickly in 5 minutes show you an example, some examples, not everything, because like you already know, the list is endless. So we can show you behind the scenes in Sterling Careers what some of the tools that we use for managing projects, what it will look like, so that you can already start having a picture. Maybe Olaide just talk about this one, and then we can stop sharing.
I'll just spend a couple of minutes on this one. So getting the foot in the door. So let's talk certifications really, because it just gives you an edge. Apart from you have your training with Silent Career, you get your certificates and all that. Then you also want to do some professional exams like Prince 2, that is projects in controlled environments. You have your P3O, that's the portfolio program and project offices. So some organizations will demand that you have at least a Prince 2 foundation, when you're applying for their jobs, and some will not demand. Once you have the experience, you have the experience. Once you go for an interview and you do great and all that, they just employ you. So it all depends, and it's endless. It's not just a Prince 2 and P3O. No, there's MSP, Managing Successful Programs. There's so many. There's ITIL, there's Agile, Scrum Master certifications and all that. So that's endless. You want to join a boot camp if you want, like Sterling Careers or now, and you want to join where you have hands-on experience. You work on real life projects as well, and that's really helpful. Myself and Veronica, we were not that lucky. We had to do everything from I think it was theoretical. There was no live experience for us, and that's, but with this it helps because interviewers or employers want someone that knows what they are doing. They've done it. They've walked the walk. They've have been part of real life projects and all that. And it helps you to join, career organizations like this where you work on real life projects, and then give you that confidence when you are going for interviews, because when you are talking about something that you have done. You're not talking from the book really. And you do your research, look at internships, if there are opportunities for that. But if you want to do a training, you network, you're on LinkedIn, and then you also look for opportunity within your organization as well. When you finish this training now, you look at projects that they are running within where you are working, and you can tell them that you just want to be part of it, even if you are not paid. You're already doing your business as usual, but you just want to be part of what they are doing, just for you to get that experience. It's very possible. So I think that's the end of my. But unless there are any questions before Veronica join.
So maybe what I'll do is quickly, just because of time, 5 minutes, I will show you some examples. And if you have any questions for Olaide, please start popping it in the chat while we do a quick demo. So I'll stop sharing and I'll show you behind the scenes quickly. As a project manager, what are the sort of tools that you would find yourself needing on the job? Okay, so quickly, let's go straight and I will share my screen. And by all means, please start popping your questions. Start popping your questions in. So what I'm going to show you first of all is what you call This is I think Olaide mentioned monday.com. Okay, let me log in. Monday.com is, sorry, bear with me a second, is one of the project planning, some people call it scheduling. So with monday.com, you can do a lot. So you can actually put your project schedule or plan in monday.com. You can do your RAID management. Olaide mentioned RAID. What is RAID management? Well, what is RAID? It just means your risks, your assumptions. So as you're starting a project, at the initiation stage, there will be some assumptions made before you go on to, find out more about what is required for that project. So it's safe to make some assumptions. And so you would need to document those. And then there will be issues maybe during the course of that project, and then there will be some risk identified. So that's your RAID. So especially those of you who are exploring the stepping stone into project management positions, for instance, for instance, your project coordinator, your project support, project admin.
Share your screen. We can't see your screen.
I'm not sharing just yet. Okay, so just listen first, please. So you would exactly. So you would, as a stepping stone functional area, you would be expected to manage RAID. Okay, so I'm just going to share the screen now so you can see what we're talking about quickly. So this is one of the tools we use in Sterling Careers, and monday.com, hopefully, yeah, I know you can see it now. Monday.com is very, very popular in a lot of organizations these days. The reason being is very, very intuitive. Also, it has amazing automation, and it is quite modern, and it looks really good. So even though slightly expensive, but that's not to say that you can't even manage projects, or rather you cannot plan your project using Excel. So some basic fundamentals, you must at least know how to use Excel. Whether you want to become a project manager, you want to be a business analyst, or you want to be, sorry, please can you do something? Is that a question? Sorry, somebody saying something?
I just want to ask, because I came here late, sorry for this question again. This session we're doing now is this part of the BA or just project management? Or?
No, this is we start like okay, probably because we came late. We started with project management.
Okay, so
yeah, the BA will come. We're just
all right. Thank you very much.
But like the trainer said, normally, even as a business analyst, you have to have an understanding of projects, because you, as a business analyst, you will not work in isolation. You will work as part of a project. So you will be be part of the team within a project. So that's why it was important that we talk about projects and project management, okay? Then we'll talk about how a BA feeds into it, or even how a privacy analyst, we're just struggling with time, but let me go quickly. So I will pick up, so we will talk about it, don't worry. So what you can see here is a list of some of the projects that, people have worked on within Sterling Careers. Let me pick up the website. I think I saw that now, web revamp. Yeah. So as a, this one. So as a project manager, so Olaide was talking about planning. So you plan in stages, as an example, according to Prince 2. So this is the first stage. So as a project manager, she was talking about the status and reporting. Remember, somebody asked that, do you send it by email? So for example, this is a typical plan. And if you are giving your updates, you can derive a Gantt chart view. Somebody asked about that. So can you see that? So, but like Olaide also mentioned, for you to derive this report, you need data. So you need to have at least put in, the activities that you would have covered. So I'll go back there. That you would have covered in the project. And if you now want to provide a report, you can come into your plan and just go to Gantt. You generate that Gantt view, and then that one, you can copy that, maybe put it onto a slide and present it to the senior or whoever it is you want to present. But these days, a lot of organizations will maybe just go into monday.com. They can see the portfolio view or the program view, and then the project managers will just talk about the different stages in the project as an example. So typically, Stage one is the brief and proposal, maybe the initiation. You have your planning, you go where your design build and release, where you're actually, executing the project and implementation and closure. So Olaide already mentioned these various stages. So as a project manager, this is your baby. You own the plan. And it is on you to ensure that you are updating the plan regularly. You are monitoring your plan so that if there's any issue, you know in good enough time to escalate or to bring it to view to the senior management to say, well, maybe we need more money, we are going, or maybe some resources. People leave. That happens a lot in a lot of places I've worked. You can be in a project and you find out that, oh, this person is leaving, got another offer somewhere. As a project manager, you will have to report on that because it will have an impact on your project because your resources will be of course depleted. So all of that you will need to track. So this is one of the tools that we use in Selling Careers. We also use Excel. Because of time, I don't need to go into that, but essentially it is just you put in a breakdown of the key activities. Let's see also for this one, if I open it up, so you can see, some of the things. Just hover about, over it, and you will see the key activities. Now, I must say that even though you are the project manager, you're not expected to come up with everything. So this is where your BAs will be. So for instance, a few of these items here are activities that will be done by the business analyst. So you see that there is close collaboration between the business analyst and the project manager, okay? Or even the entire development team, which will probably be made up of software testers or developers, people who are going to execute the project. So as you're building your plan, you need to bring your team together and say, okay, guys, at this stage, what are the key activities that we're going to be working on? And what is the timeline? How soon? So you ask business analysts, okay, business analysts, you are working on persona identification. When are you, you want to track that? When do you think you'll be ready to do, to give us some update or to do a demo? Or you could say developer, when you get to this stage, which is where you are doing the execution, your design, your build and release. So as a project manager, you are facilitating all of those activities within the project. You're facilitating engagements with people and all the reporting. So you are the one that makes it happen. Okay, so you don't have to be the expert. Let me just put that quickly. You do not have to be the expert. You can work with experts. So the BA will be an expert when it comes to carrying out analysis or maybe data analysis, data models. So as a project manager, don't be scared and say, oh goodness, okay, I'm interested in project management, but do I have to be able to do process flow diagrams and all of those things? No, you will bring the key subject matter experts together to do what they need to do. But what you are doing is you are tracking and updating and monitoring the project, just feeding or allowing others to feed into your plan. So this is an example of a project plan. Let me quickly pick up another item that was mentioned quickly, your RAID log. She mentioned that, and essentially it is just really your risk, your assumptions, issues, dependencies. So I think this is one of the, okay, so no, sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. Yeah, okay, so this is a RAID log as an example, okay? So let's look at issues. So you have what you call your issue register, and all of this you can do in this tool. So if you know how to use monday.com, I will actually advise, go onto YouTube, go online, look for free trials and see how these tools, how they work. And once you know how to, you can plan a mini project and put it on here. It's a skill and you know how to move around. It goes on your CV as a skill, as something that you can do. So this is your RAID. As what you can see here, the issue register is what the project manager, or if the organization is big enough, they might have a project support or a PMO person who is in charge of the RAIDs and not the project manager. But if it's a small organization like ours, most times the project managers will be the ones in charge of the RAID register. So they need to ensure that every week they are on top of things. Are there any issues that will impact the project? They need to put it here. Okay. So let me look at this example. It says CRM suite will need to be purchased as there's hardly any free CRM software. I don't know, that might just be something that was documented, and then that will be brought to the business to say, okay, we need to do this. We need this new software. We need this tool, blah, blah. Or maybe the developer is supposed to be working on something and the developer is not working to time, and you know it will affect the timeline. You need to document it as an issue. So an issue is something that is happening that could have an impact, most times negative impact on the project. So you highlight it. A risk might be something that you are anticipating that has a probability of happening, but you want to monitor it, you want to track it. So your risk, your assumptions, your issues, dependencies will need to be documented, and you report on it weekly as a project manager. So this is just one tool. Because of time, we won't go into too much detail. So I think this will end our project management session, because we are not good for time at all. We still have business analysis. But Olaide, I think, do we take questions? I'm going to stop sharing so we can take any questions quickly before we move.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let me see. I have the BA. BA is happening now. Are we going to have an overview of business? Yeah. You're talking about not seeing this. Let me see. Okay, so there isn't any PM as I came in. Okay, so everybody's talking about BA. It looks like there are a lot of BA enthusiasts. Yeah, so that's why I'm going to BA now. So if you have a project management question, if you remember one, please pop it in the chat and we will cover it at some point. So because of time, I'm going to go straight into the BA one. All of you who have been asking about BA, let's go. I was going to say we'd take a quick coffee break, but we don't have time. Are we okay to just keep going? Okay, right. So let me share my screen now in a minute. We talk about business analysis. For all of you who are interested in business analysis, let's talk about that. I can talk about that till tomorrow. Okay, so share my screen. Okay. Yep. Okay. Right. So yeah, welcome. Let's go straight into it because of time. I'm not going to go into all of that. I talked about us already. I talked about my career journey. Let's talk about business analysis. Right. Okay. Quickly, because of time, I'll just go through it. Normally, I like being interactive. I would have asked you if any of you have done any research on business analysis. Do you have an understanding, very high level of business analysis? But because of time, we'll go straight into it. So according to the International Institute of Business Analysis, IIBA, a lot of you are familiar with that. And I'm happy to say that we will be in another couple of months, again, we will start. We will introduce IIBA preparation sessions where we help you prepare to write your exam and stuff like that. And we're going to be endorsed by the IIBA in a few months' time. But IIBA is a very known body and they are quite international. You would have heard about the British Computer Society, so the BCS. And of course, that is for UK. You can hear British there. So a lot of certifications are, of course, regulated and managed by the BCS when it comes to business analysis, of course, whereas the IBA is more broad and is quite international. So what does business analyst definition mean? A business analysis is really talking about enabling change. Now, if you remember, Olaide mentioned projects. Projects are not just, started for the fun of it. There's always a trigger, okay? A project has a start and an end. A project is something that maybe a product that if an organization wants to launch or a change initiative that they want to bring about, and then they start a project. They mentioned policies. It might be an organization thinking, oh, we want to roll out some new policies. Let's start a project because, there will be a set of activities we need to do in order for us to actually deliver on these policies. And a lot of it is about change. So an organization will think about introducing change if there is a problem, if something isn't working well. So maybe, for instance, let's use you have your accounting software and the accounts department, maybe they have been using this particular application or software for years, and they seem to be slow in the way that they deliver whatever it is that they're supposed to deliver. And the business will say, wow, things are, are not as efficient. Why? So there's always that why. Why is it not going as we would like it to? Because potentially it could have an impact on the business. And so they might say, oh, the software that we use is so clunky, it is so old, and it is slow, it's hard to use, blah, blah. So already that's already telling you that, okay, it looks like that needs to change, okay? And a project could be initiated so that change could come about. And so the practice of business analysis, can you mute, please? I can hear some interference. The practice of enabling change in an enterprise by defining the needs. So we've talked about this finance department. I think people are waiting. Sorry about that. Some people are waiting, so please let them in. Yes, so it's about enabling change in an organization by defining the needs. There's always a need. Now that need might be, we need to improve our way of working, or we want to launch a new product, or we want to go into a new country. It could be anything, or we want to improve on our processes, or something that of course will help our business to thrive. So there's always a need. And the business analyst, you are the one that helps the organization to do what? Understand, to investigate that business situation. What is this thing that is a problem that they want? What is the problem statement? What is this thing that they want to, improve on? So you will go through what you call business analysis activities. There are industry standard techniques that will help you to go through the analysis, so that at the end of the day, you will help the organization to identify their needs. Trust me, a lot of organizations don't really know what they need. They just know that, okay, we want to improve this thing. We don't have the full scope or the full picture. That's where a BA comes in. So the business analyst will start from the scratch to look at the people, the processes, and the technology. Just three key elements are things that the BA will look at investigating in order to understand the business situation. What are the needs? What are the pain points? The accounting department, what are the accounting department team members complaining about? This software. So you will go and sit with them. You will use different techniques in order for you to carry out this initial analysis. Now, when you have done that, and of course, it could take months. Trust me, it could take months where you're interviewing different team members, you are doing more research, you are going through existing documents just to understand the problem, to understand the need. Then once you have gotten an understanding and you say to the business, okay, this is what I think you're trying to do, they will validate, because you can't sit down in your corner to say, oh, I think I know what you need, and you just go, let's go and implement. No, you need to go back to the business. So there's what you call validation. We'll talk about that in a short while. And then at the end of the day, when that need has been clearly defined and identified, you as a business analyst, you are the one that will look at helping them to come to you are not going to solutionize, but you will look at what's out there. So still talking about the accounting software that they want to improve, there will definitely be a lot, of softwares or applications out there. So it's still your role as the BA to investigate based on what the business have said they can afford. You carry out what you call a feasibility study. So do we have the technical feasibility? Do we have the financial? So the fact that you want to change your accounting software, do you even have the budgets and all of those things? So you would do the research, and the business might say, okay, we want to change this, but we don't want to spend more than 5K. So you have data to work with. So you can go out and look at research or carry out research. So as a business analyst, that's a key requirement. You need to know how to research. You need to be, if you're somebody who doesn't like to go online to find things, business analysis is not for you, because every time, trust me, you are researching, you are reading up, because there's so many stuff out there in terms of, tools and techniques and all of that. And sometimes you can spend 10 years as a business analyst and you won't have even scratched the surface when it comes to industry standard tools and information out there. So research is very important. So you go out and you look at, okay, we have a budget of 5K. And we want to deliver this project within 3 weeks or 12 weeks as an example. So you've got those information. And then you do what you call options analysis. You go and research and say, okay, what are the accounting softwares? What are the requirements? So as you are trying to investigate the situation, you are asking the business, okay, what are your requirements? Okay, what do you want this software to be able to do? We want it to be cloud-based. That's a requirement. We want it to be something that we can integrate with our existing systems. So those are requirements, and business analyst, your baby is the requirements. So there's what you call requirements engineering. From the time that you do your investigation, your analysis, your documentation, and your validation, all of that, is what you call requirements engineering. But it's really around understanding those core requirements that the business needs. The business analyst could be, you could start off as a generalist business analyst. Typically, you're not a specialist in any way. You just you have the core BA skills. We talked about communication, being analytical, having a good understanding of broad or general techniques and tools that will enable your business analysis. So you just have that wide range of techniques, and you can use a lot of them. So you start out as a generalist business. I started out as a generalist business analyst, but then as you grow, you could decide to say, okay, actually, I think I want to be more specialist. So you might say, okay, you want to be, sorry? Can you mute yourself? It's really distracting. So if you want to be, if you want to be, what do you call it, a specialist business.
Tell me and you now.
Sorry?
I don't mean it really. Sorry.
Christian, and can you please mute everybody? That's so distracting. Okay, so you could either be, I'm going to go quickly. It could be a specialist, or you could be a hybrid business analyst. So a lot of times people start out as, generalist business analysts, and as they grow, as they know more about, that field, they could now decide. We have some people who are very technical BAs. So they might just be people who like, the technical aspect of business analysis. And they will probably be involved in working very closely with technical teams. Some of them will have the knowledge of computer programming, coding, and all of those things, SQL, but not every business analyst will require that. So it just depends. You could decide that you like, but of course, a lot of times you start off as a generalist, but then as you know more, as you pick up your experience, you learn, you develop more skills, then you can now start saying, oh, okay, I think I would like to specialize, or you could be a hybrid. So for instance, a lot of people who are contractors, they just, feed, some of them they start as generalists, so they are on different type of projects. So they could be CRM, they could be digital transformation, they could be more change management, BAs, it could just be anything, or they could work within the automotive industry. Some people will say, oh, it's more, I'm just a health BA. I just want to be within that. So it could either be domain or industry specific. It just depends. But a lot of times it comes with number of years of experience once you have, explored, and then you can see where you fit in and what you enjoy and what you would like. Now, what are the skills of a business analyst? We already talked about communication. So BAs are always engaging teams. You will be talking. So if you're somebody who doesn't like talking, business analysis might be tricky for you. So, but you could still develop it, even if you are an introvert, you're quiet. Like Olaide mentioned, when she first started, she was, sorry, Anne, can you just mute everybody, please? When she first started, she was like reserved and quiet, but as you grow in this field, you now start developing, these skills. But as a business analyst, you have to learn how to communicate, because you are engaging teams, you are presenting updates, and you're working with development teams, you're working with the business. So communication, both verbal and written, is essential. People skills. Well, if you don't like people, then think about it again. because you're always talking about people. Critical thinking, research, I already mentioned, negotiation are key requirements or skills. And of course, that's not an exhaustive list, but those are your high level initial fundamentals that you would require. So let's talk about quickly the business analysis process model. So I mentioned the definition of business analysis, okay? And I said that there are industry standard methodologies or techniques. So you are not expected to go into an organization tomorrow. Yes, please pop your question in the chat. We'll take all the questions later. Because of time, we can't really stop now. Pop it in the chat, we'll take it, okay? Thank you. So business analysis process model. So as a business analyst, you start a job tomorrow. Nobody's expecting that you go and make up, what it is you're doing. You have to go by industry standard. So there are techniques, there are methodologies. A lot of them, organizations will already have them set, okay? And then you just feed into it. So let me talk quickly about your business analysis process model. So for instance, of course, you can see at the top there, you're looking at the business strategy or the objectives. Well, so we talked about the fact that projects do not just start for the fun of it. There is always something that triggers it. So it might just be one objective or the business strategy that, of course, will then, Where are my team members? Please, can you mute everybody? It is really distracting to stop like that. So where do you start quickly as a business analyst? Your first thing is you investigate the situation. So you are trying to understand this, why this business wants to change, why the business wants to introduce this new accounting software, okay? What is it you investigate? How do you investigate it? So there are techniques that will guide you that you can use, and that's a few of them there. Your investigation techniques. A few of the investigation techniques, let me use them. One is what you call workshop. So what you're trying to do is to get to the bottom of why this accounting department is complaining. And you can either go to them one-to-one. So there is what you call maybe one-to-one interviews. So it is just, okay, head of accounts, what is your problem with this tool? And they say, oh, it's so clunky, it's hard to learn, it's so slow, you're writing, okay? So you're talking one-to-one, you're interviewing to understand the situation. Or another technique you can use is workshop. And your workshop is just really gathering people together in a workshop. So there will be maybe members of the accounting department, the admin, and key stakeholders. So you hear us talk about stakeholders. So you put them together and then ask them the questions. What are your pain points? What are the issues? As business analysts, you are documenting. There is mind maps. So these are just techniques. All of this, nobody's expecting that you will use all of them. Okay, so they're just things that you should know. But investigation techniques are essential for you to understand that situation. And then you consider perspectives. Now you're talking about stakeholders. You're bringing people, because remember I talked about people, processes, and technology. So you want to understand the stakeholders. Who are the people that are being affected by this issue, this thing that you want to change? And they are your stakeholders. Or who are the people that may have, a high, influence, in this particular software that you probably will come up with to say, oh, let's buy this. So stakeholders, people that will be impacted by this change, or people that will have an impact in one way or the other. So we can't go into all the detail, but you will talk, business analysts. So that's why communication is important. So you bring these key stakeholders together. You then look at their various perspectives. Okay, department, finance department, where are you? What exactly do you want this software to do for you? Or admin, are you going to use this particular software that we're talking about? Then other areas of the business. So you have to consider different perspectives as you are going through your business analysis from one step to the other. And these are just a few. So you see your stakeholder analysis, your business activity modeling, your data finding is just talking and getting information, or you could use different data modeling techniques. I'm not going to go into all that detail now, and a lot of them you will learn as you go along. So, but you want to look at the perspectives, because at the end of the day, as your business analyst, you cannot recommend something just without getting an understanding of what the situation, what the perspective of the stakeholders are, before you now say, okay, now I understand where you guys are coming from. I understand what the issues are, and you're writing it and you're documenting, you're listening to all the stakeholders. Now, I want to say that it's not every stakeholder perspective that will be considered, because trust me, people, the head of finance might say, oh, I want a software that goes to the moon. And this one will say, my perspective is that, it has to be X, Y, and Z. So there will be different perspectives, but it is on you as a business analyst to bring everything to a consensus. So you look at their perspectives so that, they feel like, okay, you are thinking about them. But at the end of the day, you now say, okay, let's bring it all in together. What is the core objective of the business? You go back here, okay? Because if you have to listen to everybody, you won't go home. So you now need to say, okay, how do we streamline these various perspectives? How do we come to a consensus? And that's your job as a business analyst. Then we'll now look at how do we analyze the needs. There's this big one here, gap analysis, very important. Business process modeling. And these are all industry standard techniques that you would use. And there are tools that will help you, to carry these out. You evaluate options. Okay, yes, we now know what we need. We understand the various perspectives. We have a clear picture of what we want this project to deliver. Now we go and look at the options. Like I talked about options analysis. So you go to market, you look at cost benefit analysis, because the fact that the business wants to change this software, they will think about what they can afford. So you need to factor that in. You carry out risk analysis, all of these, and then you clearly come and define the requirements. And there are several ways that you can use to do that. So that is a very high level business analysis process model. So that is the end-to-end, really, if you put that in your head as a business analyst, that you will be doing on a project that you are supporting their business analysis activities. So if there's anything you remember, you will not be expected to do these things by yourself. There are industry techniques, there are models, and methodologies that you would follow. And these are the things that you begin to learn. So we talk about the fact that you don't need a technical background. However, whether for project management or business analysis, you need to gain mastery and understanding of these techniques. Now, you don't have to know everything, but let me just say a good idea of business analysis techniques and a few of these tools. You would need to, at least, that's where your hands-on experience comes in, because if you go and watch videos, it won't demo. Not all videos will demonstrate. But some do, some are very good. So as you're watching the videos, you can practice. And once you are able to practice, you try these things out. That's you picking the skills, and you can put that on your CV. But before you can get through an interview, you need to be able to speak the language. You need to understand these terms. You need to, and these are, kind of what, that's the meat, that's the important bit. Because if you go for an interview and I say, oh, can you tell me about a project you worked on as a business analyst? And you are not calling these names or these techniques, I would just feel like, I don't know if this person is a good fit. So it's important that you know them. Now, this is just analytical. I would look at questions, don't worry. A few of the techniques that you could use, a lot of you know about SWOTs. So if you are trying to analyze, this is one technique, you're trying to analyze that business situation. Okay, what is it? You look at, okay, what are the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, threats? This is one model, or the person analysis. These things, I would say, write them down. Because of time, we can't go into that. Go and read more about it. This one, very important. Business analysis techniques. If you can remember this, we talked about the very first stage, which is where you start. You start your investigation, and your investigation could actually be qualitative or quantitative. Now we've broken this down. So what you want to do is you're understanding what is needed. Remember, at the end of the day, you're trying to get to the root cause of this problem in order for you to recommend solutions to meet this business need. Now, under the qualitative techniques, examples I've already mentioned: interviews, observations, shadowing. So shadowing might just be, okay, they might say as a BA, this has happened to me in my very, very, very early days. I was working on an admin software which wanted to roll out for university. So I had to go to the admin team to sit with them to see how they were using the application. And I was asking them questions and I was documenting. So business analysts, sometimes you will need to do some footwork. It might just be, okay, go and see how this thing works so that you can get an understanding of the situation. And that still comes under investigation of the pain points. Why is it not working? You're asking them questions as they're using it. And somebody said, oh, it's just so annoying. Imagine I'm trying to type in and it's just taking so long to load, blah, blah, blah. And you're watching it and you're documenting it. And so that is still part of your investigation. Workshops, something like this. So we could, let's say, for instance, workshop is really good where you have teams across the globe. A lot of organizations or tech companies now work remotely. And so maybe this particular project that you're working on, you have people or key stakeholders from the UK, like for me, what I'm working on now, Canada, UK, Slovakia, we have people in China, South Korea. So you want to bring all of these guys because you can't go to these places individually to carry out interviews. So your workshop. So for you to determine which technique to use, you will have to look at the scenario. You will have to look at what are the factors. So if, for instance, you want to talk to 10 people, the workshop is like, in fact, 3, 4, 5 people, so that you bring them into one meeting like this, and you are now investigating the situation, and you're asking them questions, and you're making notes. Focus groups, yes, you can, a lot of product rollouts, they might just say, maybe we have rolled out part of that product, but we want to improve or we want to enhance it. So you might say, okay, let's get people who are already using the old version of that project. So it could be a focus group, or people who are key stakeholders that may be using this project that you're deploying. So you bring them together to investigate. Prototyping is another way. So there could be what you call low fidelity prototypes, high fidelity. You would have heard of wireframes. So if we talk about the website development project like they talked about, so for instance, the business analyst, as you are going through your investigation, sometimes it might just be a diagram that you need to put together. So we want to build a website and you want the designer or the developer to see how you want the homepage to look like. So another technique or another tool for you in your toolbox is how do you draw a prototype? So BA, if you're here, a lot of you who are business analysts, you have to be ready to roll your sleeves up and learn how to use some of these tools and techniques. Because I remember my very first BA interview, they asked me to put together a slide on how prototyping can be used as a technique for requirements validation. That was the brief. So I had to put a presentation together and I said, oh, okay, you can use wireframes, which are low fidelity prototypes. I'm going a bit more technical. So some of these things you can read about, but these are just techniques that you would use. So the point here is that as a BA, you will not be expected to just figure it out by yourself. There will be there are guides or guidelines that you can follow. And this one questionnaire, as a lot of us know, activity sampling, documents, mind maps are just, so for instance, you're trying to understand the situation, you can send out questionnaires. If, for instance, there is a team of, 10, 15, 20 people, you can't bring them all together. You just create a questionnaire. Those guys on our program, I see one of you just joined, you will put a questionnaire together. It's easy. You can use Google Form, and just put a few questions, 10 questions. You send it to that department or the people that you want to get that information from. That is another way to investigate the situation. I will pause to catch my breath and then we'll take questions. Well, I know we're not so good for time. Oh, audio is gone. I hope you guys can hear me. Have I been talking?
Yes.
Okay, somebody said audio is gone. Maybe that's from the person's end. No, we don't give our slides out. We only give you recordings. We don't give our slides out. As a BA, do you need software? No. So I already mentioned that as a generalist business analyst, I don't know how to use SQL. I don't even know Python. It's just now that I don't have the skill. I didn't need it. And I've been in this, I was in the field in that space for almost 10 years. So it is not a mandatory requirement. But if you've got the skill, that's good, because these will be probably for big data type of projects, or maybe you need to do like data analysis, and you want to use SQL, to kind of pull your data together or do your data analysis, or use Python. So these are quite technical. If you have that skill, brilliant, but you do not need no more volume. Okay, some of us are need to hear them, sorry. Don't worry. Okay, that's fine. No, yep, sorry, I'm just going through. So you don't, what was that? Denham? You don't, you can get in first, okay? And as you go along, I just need a boot camp to learn the ropes before picking up a role. Definitely. So we'll talk about that. Can Sterling provide a boot camp to learn? Yeah. We'll tell you about that quickly. Don't worry. Okay, I think that's all the questions. So business analysis opportunities, I think it's just like the one Olaide mentioned. You can, I think, like I told you guys when I started out, my first role, 450 a day. A lot of it is just getting that hands-on experience so that you can demonstrate. We don't have time for this, but I will probably just put it, I'll talk through it. So I was going to see if we could talk about a scenario, the context. Let me just maybe talk about that. And if you've got to leave, that's fine. I know we've gone overboard. We will for a few minutes. If you have to go. We'll send the recording. So the context here, most businesses are not aware that they already have vast levels of data within their organization. But this data is often inaccessible, inadequate, or simply unexploited. And so typically, you already know that most organizations, and this is so true of a lot of organizations, you have data flying everywhere. I'll talk about data privacy. I'm going to have to whiz through that because of time. So you have data, but nobody knows where the data is. The data is not clean, is inadequate, is not, is probably outdated and all of that. But this business knew, for instance, that, okay, they want to increase insight and intelligence. And a lot of organizations these days, data is the new oil, like they say. So your data is what will help you to carry out, to, pull that information together so that you can get business insights. So if you know how your customers are engaging with you, for example, let's look at the website project, the website development project. So we will look at, okay, our website, we will, of course, try to get some information or some insight or data to say, how often are people visiting that site? Are we getting, signups? Are people paying just by going on the website and things like that? And if that is not the case, if we're not getting a lot of people signing up from our website, then maybe that website, maybe we need to revamp it. Maybe we need to look at search engine optimization. So there'll be a lot of things that, you would need to, come to. So you now say, okay, this is the need that we need. That we've identified, okay? So now the business need here that has been identified is that business wants to increase insight and intelligence. Pretty much is how they want to use the information to make informed decision. Let's use it in very simple terms. So that is typically, I would have asked you this, but let me talk about it. And then the second objective or business need is you want to ensure a more proactive business view, but the data is inaccessible, is inadequate, is unexploited, is all over the place. So what a BA might do in this context, so you land that BA role and they tell you that, okay, this project that we have hired you for, these two elements are the business needs, okay? They would have given you this context. Right now we have data everywhere, it's all over the place. Okay, but we want to be able to derive business insights from the data that we have. How can you help us as a business analyst? And so a business analyst might do a few of these things. What do you want to do? Remember the business analysis process model? If we had time, I would have put the question to you guys. I would say, what's the first thing you do when you are trying to understand the business situation? That's the first step you do. Because at the end of the day, you want to gather requirements. You want to know what the business is trying to do. So a lot of times they may just tell you, these are our needs, very high level. It's not enough for you. So you've got to probe more. You've got to, speak to key stakeholders, communicate with stakeholders, look at documents, investigate the situation in order for you to put your requirements together. So in this scenario, you would ask them, are there any documents that I can look at? Okay, so is there a data team? Maybe do you have a CRM? What are the various applications where you store data? So it's about it's about fact finding. So gathering requirements would involve talking to people, asking questions. So that's how a BA starts. So you engage, okay, first day on the job, they'll send you a lot of materials so that you read about the business, read about, their CRM, which is their customer relationship management software where information sits. They might have some database somewhere, all of that. So you would have to ask the right questions. So as a business analyst as well, if you don't ask the right questions, you won't get the right information. So that is a skill in itself, knowing how to communicate and asking questions. So you now will talk to these people to say, where do we get some information about this data that is inadequate? Let's even look at it. And so you might need to look at how you can derive information from that, the data sets that they show you. So I think a lot of data. So the person was asking about SQL and all this, and maybe Power BI, data visualization tools. Those sort of tools and techniques will be required in these sort of scenarios. But I must caveat that by saying that it's not all BA jobs that would require that. But at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is you're gathering requirements, you extract data, and you map data flows. So these are techniques that's called data flow models, business process models. So there are several industry standard models that will help you to do this. So you don't have to sit down in your house to figure it out. You will have them, they would have the organization. So you as a BA, you ask them, okay, what are the tools you have that would allow me to extract and get some information about this data that you have given me here in the context. And then, so you find that there are some BA roles that will require the knowledge of data analysis or data analytics. So you might need to have an understanding of some of the software and these tools in order for you to be able to carry out something like this. But not all BA roles require that, because at the end of the day, you use this to enable what you are working on, and then you can then provide a visual representation. So these are just a few things. This is not everything, but at least to start, you will need to gather requirements by speaking to people. You will need to maybe do a data flow map just to get an understanding of how data is flowing into the organization, if data is flowing out, all of those things. Do you need to actually look at cleansing the data? Now, you may not be the one. Let me put this again. So as a business analyst, just like the project manager, in a lot of cases, you may not be the subject matter expert for everything. So they might hire you as a business analyst, but if you don't have, the skill of, you're not a data analyst, you don't have it, they could actually say, oh, we have a data team. We have a team of data analysts who are the business intelligence team. In most of my organizations I've worked in, we have a BI team. So you as a BA, you can work with the BI team to say, okay, even though I'm the BA, I am carrying out business, I'm trying to gather requirements. Can I have somebody who will help me to do some data extraction or data models? Because these guys already have the skills. So you will need to identify the subject matter expert to carry out this. So, but some organizations might say, they will say it maybe in the job description, that this BA role will require a knowledge of, maybe some visualization, data visualization tools or techniques. They would mention that. But if they don't, it might be that they have that capability in-house. And then you can, I'll quickly go into my questions. So we have, sorry guys, we might do half an hour just to cover the data privacy. I hope that's okay. But like I said, if you must go, please go ahead. Quickly, let me see if there are any questions. Okay, please, as an HR person, which is, I won't tell you what is suitable. Okay, so what I would say, I normally say this to everybody, is to do your research. Okay, so I can tell you, I did HR, I did strategic human resource management. But the fact that I started out in business analysis does not mean that you must. So as a coach, I won't tell you this must be, I won't prescribe. I will only recommend, I will only guide, and what I would say, go and do research and type, what does a business analyst, now we've talked about business analysis, we've talked about project management. You begin to look at it in yourself and say, okay, which of these two career paths seem like something that I will enjoy. So I, as a person, when I started out business analysis, I know I didn't want to do all those planning and all of those things. I'm more hands-on. I'm a doer, so I would like to draw diagrams, do models, and that kind of a thing. So I enjoy business analysis. Whereas some other person will say, oh, they don't want to be bothered with all of that, but they are organized. So you need to take a step back, look at yourself. What are your skills? What have you done before? As a HR person, you would have engaged with people. You might be a good people person. You would have communicated with different stakeholders. So do you like planning? Do you like organizing? Like you have talked, Olaide has talked about project management. So you begin to see where you think you fit better. So I can tell you today that, oh, go into business analysis, and you get in and you're like, oh, please, I don't want to do this every day. So there are quick questions you have to ask yourself. So this is a taster session. You need to go back and do some more fact finding. Go on to LinkedIn and say, okay, or go on to YouTube, watch videos like A Day in the Life of a Business Analyst. And from what we have said now, you can see what the BA does. I know very high level, you can see what a PM does. So ask yourself, is this something that you want to wake up every day to do? And, or you want to say, from what I've done before, do I have existing skills that I can transfer? Okay, either to BA or PM. So ask yourself those questions. And by the time you do, you carry out more investigation, more research. Trust me, it'll start getting clearer. Now, another thing is people on our course, some people, they start off with the intention of becoming BAs. But when they now start working on projects, they find out that they're actually better at project management. So wait until you either do the research or you get into a boot camp where you are actually, working through a project, then it begins to sink in. You begin to have that light bulb moment to say, I love project management, or I love business analysis, and I think I will do this well, and I can leverage some of the existing skills that I have previously so that you're not starting from ground zero. So Kenny, if you can take that on board, I think that will answer your question. So I won't tell you which one to do. Okay, so it says, just because of time, it couldn't be possible to contact you directly. No. We will talk about how you can join our program, so we'll talk about that in a minute. That's fine. That's why we did this. Okay, Dana, we'll talk about it. Don't worry. How would you advise someone from different background trying to work together but have some good knowledge of, but there is nothing on my CV to show BA experience? So get on a boot camp. You've got to get hands-on experience, because I will not lie to you and tell you that if you have never worked on a project as a business analyst and you put on, not unless you can, I don't know, make up, but it won't fly these days. They won't, because when you go for an interview and there's nothing on your CV, what are you going to defend? I won't hire you, because I'm hiring BAs every time. When I was hiring BAs, I will look at your CV and say, okay, have you worked on a project as a business analyst before? That's what I want to see. So that's why we talk about the fact that don't be hung up on certifications, because trust me, Denham, you can do business analysis certification, you can do IIBA, BCS, Business Foundation, blah, blah, you have all of those. But until you can actually see how that fits into real life and you are able to talk about it at an interview, they won't hire you. But if you take your time and you say, okay, let me understand what business analysis is about using a project, you can even volunteer. So even if you don't want to pay for a program, you don't want to join a boot camp, you can go to your church. I know some people that went as a church admin, and one of the two or so of the ladies that joined us previously, they did church admin project support type of roles, and that's what they put on their CV. You've got to have something on your CV for you to even be shortlisted before you even get interviewed. So the CV has to have something that demonstrates some experience that will cause your CV to be shortlisted. Now that you can do volunteering, you can get those experiences, and once you have worked on it, you put it on your CV. Then you'll say, I'm coming to you, Dana, in a minute. Jump to, okay, on red. Sorry, just a minute. What is the difference between? Okay, so a data analyst, I think I've already covered that. So a data analyst is really, like he says, analyzing data, right? But there is your data analytics, which is a bit more, there's a bit more technical element to it. So you are the ones, so the person who was asking about Power BI, Python, or no, maybe not Python, but SQL. So these are two techniques that you can use to analyze data. So there are ways, so you need to know how to, or even Excel. So you start with Excel. So there is VLOOKUP. There are a lot of things that you need to learn, not Excel for beginners. At least you probably get into intermediate or expert level so that you know how to manipulate data. You know how to derive information from data. So there are data analyst positions that all they're doing is just in that organization on the project, and they give them different data sets. They give them access to different maybe Excel sheets or database, and they say, okay, can you write a program or use SQL, to analyze this data? And that's all they're doing. Whereas the business analyst, you could have a hybrid. So you could have a business analyst that is very knowledgeable or has the skill of a data analyst. Okay, so, but the point is, like I think we already mentioned, a business analyst can be generalist, can just, know how to understand business situations, help them to document requirements, work towards, implementing the change. Whereas data analyst is really, really specific around data and analyzing data. And there are different industry standard techniques, tools, softwares that you can use for data analysis. They are different. Right. Yeah, in a minute. How would you advise someone from different? Okay, I think I already said that. Thank you. Are you still going to talk about? I know. Because of all these questions, we will look at that now. As an investigation officer, which role? So I will not see, guys, I will not tell you which role. Okay, I won't tell you which role, unfortunately. I will say the reason we do these sessions is so that you can see, okay, this is how a project manager works. This is how a business analyst works. Which one do I think? So like I said to the person previously, do some research. Dana, quickly, go on before I talk about the privacy in 15 minutes. Yeah, go on.
Thank you very much. The reason I actually wanted to speak to you is my current role, have a look at the BA, is have so many things in common because I'm a quality engineer and I solve problems. So when you mention some of the things, is I think BA is like you solve problems, looking into issues, investigate, Although in the manufacturing environment where I work, we use different tools to solve problems, which I do daily. So communication. So I'm quite very close. Although it's not IT, but it's similar to most of the things you mentioned here. I've looked at them. The only thing, the reason I asked that question, okay, I've got some really there was one job advert I saw quite long. I actually saved it. It's that's what I'm doing. But this is BA role. So
so there you go. So you already have something.
I do. Because I was asking which you mentioned, like if you put your CV in, even though maybe highly skilled, in some of this area, but you haven't got any history of saying you work in BA, I know most of these employers are looking for experience, and I won't have any training. So I'm just going to ask from that perspective, how do I put in this,
Okay. So
Yeah.
so I because of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can go on Instagram. I think I will do consultation. You can book some more time. But let me just really talk about. So this is where we talk about leveraging skills that you already have. So you have mentioned some things that you're already doing. That looks. It's not called business analysis, but so that is you starting from, you're not starting from the scratch. You're not starting from ground zero. You already have something. And that can go on your CV as well. However, for you to, now I want to correct something. You mentioned it's not IT. Not all business analyst roles are IT driven. IT is information technology. So there might actually be some roles that are change driven, for instance. So you might just, what they're looking for might just be an experience around change management. So not everything is IT, not everything is tech. There might even be some BA roles that are policy driven. So we talk about like privacy as an example. So for me, the way I was able to leverage get into privacy, I used a lot of things I've done as a business analyst because I could see that there were a lot of similarities. So not all BA jobs are IT. So don't let that hold you back. So I would say, just sit down and put what you have done, put it down, okay? So that you can start documenting like a draft CV. Then go and research. Okay, we talked about business analysis. We didn't go in there because it's a taster session. So do further research. I say, okay, business analyst does, even if they say requirements gathering, and on your role, it's not called requirements gathering, but it sounds like what you are doing.
Essentially.
Exactly. So it's, and a lot of this thing is semantics. And so that's where your packaging, let me use that word. All of us are familiar with that word, packaging. So you can actually say, let me write down the things that I'm doing on my job or my role now. And let me even put a side-by-side comparison with what we're saying a BA does. And you're ticking off. I think if you go on I've done something called a skills gap analysis. And essentially that's how you do it. So you mark and say, I've done this, I've done that. It's about how you present it on the CV. And please, there might be some job roles that you will find and it will say maybe process analyst. So it's not every time that you must say I'm typing business analyst, a business analyst. It could be a process analyst. It could be a requirements analyst. It could be anything. So you need to type it in. And if you need to modify your CV, but you've got to be able to defend it. Only put what you know looks like or sounds like business analysis. So that is one place to start. But because business analysis is very, we've got standards, if I may put that way. So there are industry standards. So whilst you can start with leveraging the things that you're already doing, you still need to understand these terminologies. You still need to so if you are able to put your CV together and the CV scales through, you go for an interview, you need to know, this industry, all the things I've been talking about. So you still need to learn that. You see where I'm coming from? So you still need to learn, and you don't have to know everything. Okay, so you still need to spend some time to say, okay, what are the core business analysis techniques and tools? Because at the interview, you have to speak the language. Unfortunately, you've got to use that language so that way they can tell that, okay, this person can hit the ground running if you give the person the job tomorrow. So that is the layer that you need to put on it. But that shouldn't take too long. It's just put your head down, even if you want to do it by yourself. You don't want to get a coach, you don't want to join. Put your head down, give yourself 6, 8 weeks or 10 weeks to learn to gain mastery of these techniques. You will not get a job if you don't know it, because you won't even be able to do the job, because you won't know about business process modeling. You'll not be like, what is that? If you don't learn them, you need to gain mastery of the tools, the techniques, and all of that. So that is the layer that you need to spend time to pick up, because you can go for an interview, you can do your CV nicely, and try to speak through it. But when it's time for you to do the job, if you haven't learned all these tools that we're talking about, or these industry standard techniques, you wouldn't be able to do the job. I'm going to stop there. I hope that helps.
Oh,
Okay.
thank you very much. Yeah.
Quickly, so let's talk about privacy. God, we got 10 minutes. That's what I can do. A privacy analyst. This one is something that is up my street. I got into it a few years ago because there was a lot of us know about the General Data Protection Regulation. So those of you who have been maybe lawyers or have been doing jobs that are very policy driven, you know, you like those policies, procedures, you like, you know, this might be something for you to look at. So where did it start? It started from your EU General Data Protection Regulation, and there are core principles around data management, data flows, data privacy. So it came into play because a lot of organizations like Facebook, Apple, and co were just using your data and my data as they pleased without even checking that we are happy for them to process our data the way that they were. So the consent, you know how you say, are you, so these days you see on websites, emails where they will say, tick this box if you're happy, cookie, you know, you see those cookie pop-ups, all of that came from GDPR requirements. So it's really around, you know, ensuring that the data that we process about people, we are processing it in a lawful manner. And there are a few guidance or guidelines or principles that govern that. Okay, and it's really around data protection policies, which we have quite a few projects going on. So I think I already mentioned that. I'm going to go quickly. So becoming a data privacy analyst, I'd mentioned that, let's say you are somebody who is policy driven, you don't mind researching and documenting and all of that. Maybe you even have a law background. A lot of times when we are looking at CVs, I think in another couple of months or so, I may be hiring and all that for my organization, and I will look at CVs. If I see somebody with a law background, that will pull my attention because you already have a certain way of reasoning and looking at things, a certain perspective, which is required for a privacy analyst, as an example. But that's not to say that I'm not a lawyer, but I lead the privacy team for my organization, but I don't have a law background. But I'm saying if you have a law background, that might just be one step already done. And there are certain skills and knowledge. So first of all, you need to get understanding of the General Data Protection Regulation. Now, these days, there are so many privacy laws, so many legislations around data protection and privacy springing up because everybody is just sick and tired of how these big tech companies are just using people's information. And so they are pushing, you know, for that to ensure that there are laws, there are rules that must govern the way that data is handled. So an understanding of data protection regulation using the GDPR. The GDPR is that baseline that a lot of all these other privacy and data protection laws kind of, you know, that's what they use. So the GDPR is the first that was kind of, and it's the most stringent. So you find CCPA that we put there is the California Consumer Privacy Act. This is another one, but this is California, of course, the US. Unfortunately, in the US, they don't have, you know, a general, so they have different sectoral laws. They have different states, you know, the US, you know, has how many states in the US. So you find out in each state, they may come up with their own privacy and data protection laws or regulations. So it's just all over the place. But at least the EU have been able to put together something that is more like a federal, you know, law. And so a lot of countries are learning from the GDPR, are picking from the GDPR and just modifying it, you know, to suit their own you know, country and things, the way of doing things. So as a privacy analyst, you cannot wing this one. You've got to know at least the foundation. You start with gaining an understanding of the core principles of the GDPR. Now, the GDPR has 99 individual articles. When I started, I think I just managed to know maybe 5 or 6, because you can't be expected to memorize, and nobody is going to ask you. I remember those days, I used to think that if I go for attend an interview to get a GDPR role, they will ask me to quote articles. Nobody cares. What they want to know is, are you as a privacy analyst, are you able to help us to interpret this requirement that the privacy GDPR is saying into a way that it applies to our business? Because not all of it will be applicable. So it is just, they want simple. How can you interpret this? That's what they're looking for. It's not to quote the articles. Nobody cares about the articles somewhat. And then, of course, there are professional certifications, but I remember when I started, I don't think this IAP wasn't around. I did something, I did a crash program over the weekend. They don't, it gives you an edge like everything else, but it's really, can you do the job? Can you hit the ground running today? Can you, help us to understand our compliance posture? You know what to do as a privacy analyst, okay? Then the other one is gain experience on GDPR compliance program. That's how I started. I was able to get on one project that lasted for 4 months on understanding. First of all, I had to do research, understand the core principles, and then I worked on a project. I can't remember what that project was. So my first interview, they told me, okay, if we were to hire you today as a privacy analyst, tell us your approach that you will use to help us to attain compliance. That was my interview brief. So I had to sit down to put a presentation together to say, okay, this is what I will start with. I will start with a gap analysis to say, what have you done in your compliance program, towards, compliance with the GDPR, and where are the gap areas? And if right now I'm designing a roadmap, on, I think 3 or 4 year roadmap for my software development company to say, okay, these are the gaps. So how do we plug the gaps across the next 3 or 4 years? So I don't want to scare you, but when I got in, it was just that question, and I was able to communicate, and I told them, this is what I would do. Pretty much. The role of a data privacy analyst, you are supporting data privacy regulation and compliance. So most organizations these days want to be GDPR compliant because there is, of course, you as a data subject, you and myself, if you see that an organization is GDPR compliant, you would trust them more, because you would actually feel like, okay, these guys are actually thinking about my privacy and any impacts that if they don't, wrong use or handling of my data could have on me. If, for instance, they don't have a secure way of managing their data base and systems and core. And these days, you know how hackers are getting into systems and stuff like that. So if they don't have a way of, fortifying their defense infrastructure, then people can get hold of volumes of information that belongs to you and myself. Okay, and if that happens, there is a huge impact, because chances are the hackers can get hold of your information and they can use your information to commit identity theft or fraud. So you just hear that, oh, someone has used your card somewhere, or has used your information as, as an imposter or something. So hackers, that's why they're looking for. So organizations know that, okay, we need to put what you call technical and organizational measures in place in order to safeguard the data that belongs to individuals. So as a privacy analyst, you will help them to make that happen. But how can you make it happen? You need to understand the core requirements. You need to understand the principles, for you to say, okay, the GDPR says you must collect consent on our website for marketing. So you can't just market to people if they haven't given their consent. So you need to understand those core requirements, first of all, in order for you to support their privacy program. Then another thing that you do, so you might have projects that you're working on as a privacy. I started off as a privacy consultant, and then I stayed on with them for 5 years. So I was now doing BAU. I helped to set up the department, and my BAU might just be reviewing policies, privacy notices, looking at data subject right requests, and all of those are BAU type of things. But then there are also projects that may come from their compliance roadmap. So if you have that sort of person who enjoys that sort of work, maybe something to look at. Now, driving information flow mapping. So my first task when I got the job was help them to work out their data flow. What is that? What does it mean? It just means help us to identify how information, personal information. Now the GDPR really focuses on, I'm going to move quickly, really focuses on, these are job opportunities. I can tell you 6 figures, you can start out 50, 60K, 70K, and all of that. But so I want to quickly talk about this. So what you want to know, the GDPR, as an example, or data privacy is about personal information. So it's not just corporate. Please, can you mute everybody? Oh, people just listen. Data, okay, so it's about personal data, okay, and it is not, it is not just any type of data. It is personal information, and that's the example. Your name, your ID, the IP address. So your router, when your IP address is actually personal information because it is linked to your address. So chances are that someone can pick it up and say, oh, that came from that IP address. And that IP address is associated with number 118. So chances are that the person that has that IP address lives in 118. So that is already information gathering about you. And if they put all of that information together, they may be able to uniquely identify you. So that's why all of these data sets class or come under what you call personal data. Racial ID, biometric data, location data, religious affiliation, sexual orientation, and more. So that is what the GDPR really focuses on. It's not just anything. So it talks about personal data only includes information relating to natural persons, so people who are alive, who can be identified or who are identifiable either directly or indirectly from the information in question. So I think I already illustrated that. A few principles as you go away, if you're exploring this, you want to go to the ICO. So the ICO is the Information Commissioner's Office, and that is a supervisory authority that sort of, monitors and manages GDPR within the UK. Although with Brexit now, a few things have changed, but when the GDPR first came into play, 2018, 25th of May, to be precise, I remember because everybody was running around helter-skelter. I'm sure some of you would have received some emails asking you to reconsent, blah, blah. So this was the first step, this is just something that was provided for organizations because nobody knew where to start. We just knew we needed to be compliant by 25th of May, 2018. But then the ICO came up with this as a guide, 12 steps to take now. And it just covers as a privacy analyst. So you go into an organization that is very, very immature in with regards to their compliance posture. So you want to start using this. Okay, in terms of awareness, how aware are your team members about data protection and data privacy? Awareness is important. So there might be training and awareness. You ask them, has that been done? They will say, yes, we have an annual GDPR awareness training. That's a tick in the box. You could say, okay, yes, as you are doing your assessment, you carry out an assessment. And then you say information that you hold. This is really around your data mapping. Okay, and you want to ask them, do you have any way of documenting the data that flows into your organization, or data of people that you use, data you capture from your website form? How is that data being stored? And in general information about people. So they may say, oh, we don't have it's everywhere. When my very first organization, they were like, we don't even know where to start from. There's emails to look at. We have this database, we have this Excel sheets, we have this information systems, we have 15 information systems that have personal data. You should just wonder, where do you start from? But as a privacy analyst, you now say, okay, we need to do data mapping. That's where you start from. And data mapping is just, okay, how do we, have a map of our data flows. So you now need to identify all the various touch points that this organization collects data from and what type of data is collected. So you categorize data. You say, oh, they collect first name, last name, they have a web form, people fill this data. So you're doing the data flow. That data mapping is what really is the starting point, because with that, it will tell you a lot. You get a lot of insight from the outcome or the output of your data mapping or data flow. Communicating privacy information still around awareness, individual rights. So data subjects now have rights to object processing, right to be forgotten, right to have access of their information. So there are several rights. So in the organization, you can ask them, do you have a way of allowing people to exercise their rights? So one of the projects, I think Val joined, I don't know if she's still here, one of the projects that I just finished in the Sterling Academy is we implemented a mechanism for managing individual rights because it is a requirement. So you can ask them, do you have that in place? If not, that's a gap identified and it can trigger a project. Subject access requests, how do you manage those requests? When people come in and they say, I want access to my information, do you have a mechanism for managing the fulfillment of that request? That's another question you will ask as a privacy analyst. Lawful basis of processing, you can't process the information without ensuring that you are, doing it lawfully. Consent, a lot of us are very familiar. There is also sensitivity around children's information, data breach management. When there is an incident, do you have a policy that will go, or an SOP that says, if there is a data breach, this is what we need to do? And do everybody in the organization understand that? So you go through all of this, or DPOs, international transfer, and all of that. Now the data protection or privacy analyst comes in this instance. So I already mentioned 99 individual articles. You do not need to know all of it. Quickly, in the next 10 minutes, these are the core principles. What I will ask you is to make your notes. As you watch it, you can also play back and say, what are the core principles of the general data protection regulation? There is lawfulness, fairness and transparency, purpose limitation. It just talks about limiting, don't collect information only if you absolutely need it. Gone are those days where organizations will just collect your information and store it. They actually cannot do that anymore. So the GDPR says that you need to minimize the way that you store information and only use it for the purpose that is required. And then the storage limitation, data minimization, don't start storing tons and tons and volume of people's information, because that is risky. And if you are doing that, for instance, if your system was hacked and you're storing maybe sensitive information, of course that is risky for your data subjects or data or your employees or your customers, because they can steal their information and use it, and that can bring some liability or penalty on you if you don't have adequate safeguards in place, to do that. So just minimize what you're holding so that you reduce the risk. So this is largely about risk management, a lot of it, truly. So lawfulness, fairness and transparency, purpose limitation, storage limitation. A few of them are integrity and confidentiality, accountability. So this breaks down lawfulness, fairness and transparency. Just talks about identifying valid grounds under the GDPR for collecting or processing personal data. So it's no longer enough to say, okay, I'm just collecting that information just in case I need it. No, there has to be a valid reason that you are collecting it. For example, when you were registering for this taster session, we asked you to put your name and your email address. And the reason we can justify that by saying we need this information in order for us to communicate with you, for us to provide the Zoom access, for example. Okay, so we are doing that in a lawful manner. We're doing that for a reason. But there is also, how long do we want to keep your information? So if, for instance, after this session, you say, okay, now I know more, and I say Sterling Careers, you see that information, that name, email address I gave you just for this, can you forget me? You are well within your right, and we will remove you. In fact, you can opt out, because as we're sending future emails, we will give you an opportunity for you to opt out of future marketing, and you can do that. But the point here is you've got to be able to process people's information in a lawful, a fair, and a transparent manner. A transparent manner just means having your privacy policy, letting people know why you are collecting the information, what it will be used for, rather than just hiding in tiny prints. So some organizations still do it. So you go onto websites and there will be tiny prints, no privacy policy, no way of managing consent. All of these things we are implementing, part of the projects that are working at the moment in Sterling, they are implementing all of these things. So these are just, vital interest. So legal obligation might be at one, and these are core principles. I think I've just broken them down. I've talked about them. So minimize the data that you hold, limit the storage of information to minimize risk. So as a privacy analyst, you need to have a good understanding. You don't have to know everything of the articles, but these core principles that we've highlighted here, that's a good starting point for you. And how can you do that? Is by researching, is by joining, training programs like ours, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then you can also, go on to, in fact, LinkedIn will have LinkedIn Learning. They will have tutorials on, that. And the data governance side is also another area which a lot of organizations have not really managed to crack. But let me just bring it all home. So you want to become a privacy analyst. The core thing that you need is to gain understanding of at least the GDPR, because most of the privacy legislation and laws are really built upon that GDPR foundation. That's where they get their baseline from. That's what they use, and then they can look at other nuances. So if you want to get into the privacy space, you start by gaining understanding of those core principles, which I just talked about, of the GDPR. And you can do that by researching. Then the next one is, how can you gain hands-on experience? Is by working on a GDPR project as an example. So you see how these things are actually done in real life. We can't do this because of time, but additional information for you, I think we can pop that in the chat in a minute. So you can go onto if I type it now, you can go onto the ICO website. The ICO website, and you can just download and read about General Data Protection Regulation Principles, a guide, so that once you are reading it, you're not like, oh, this is too much, or I don't think I'll be interested. And that already tells you, okay, maybe that's not what you should look at, okay? But you need to understand, get a good idea of what is required as a baseline, okay? And then relevant certifications, there is your IAP, that's your Institute for Assisted with Privacy Professionals. And there's also OneTrust is another important one that they do free certifications and training. So you can also leverage that. Or you can join our 16 weeks program, which I will talk about now. Let me just take any more questions. I will drop. So, oh, that's fine. Are you still going to do? Yeah, we already did that. So that's covered. I hope the person did. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. So we said all of that to say, yeah, we've been talking about business analysis, project management, and data privacy. And these three programs we offer, those of you who have been asking, somebody says you want to join a boot camp. And we offer the hands-on experience. So apart from you learning the theoretical bit, which you can do online, or you can, do Prince 2 for project management. You can do IIBA or BCS Foundation for business analysis. You can do IAPPE for data privacy. But what gives you that foot in the door, or what helps you to develop the confidence to attend interviews and to do the job, is the hands-on experience. And I want to talk to you about what we offer if you want to stay on. So within Sterling Careers, we have real life projects. Now, I talked about this data privacy. I think so far we would have done close to 8 GDPR projects. I think there's one's finishing, and there's like 2 more, and we had maybe 6 or so before. Now, this project, this is my area of expertise, and so I bring on these projects from experience on the job, from type of things that we've done, and then we introduce that, and we do that as a project for Sterling Careers. So it's a real project that you will see come to life. We also like website development. We have a software development project that is ongoing now. So we have in-house software developers, front-end, back-end developers. We have coaches that will help you, to go through the project. I'm also there. We have trainers for business analysts, project management. So what I'm telling you about today is our 16 weeks. So I was talking a lot about my birthday offer. We normally have 6 months and it costs X amount. You can go onto our website to find it. But for those of you who have stayed till the end, we are offering for our 16 weeks. So that's, let's say, 4 months, where you have access to one of our live projects. So you are in the project, you see it from the beginning to the end. So, and then you also have access to our learning portal where you have recordings, you have templates, you have all these things. Though the behind the scene that I showed you, those are projects that people have worked on. And then they work on these projects, they put it on their CV. We give references as well. And we are also CPD accredited. So you will get your certificate of completion, you get your career, your work reference once you get a job, and you have access to all the tools that we've talked about. You have the templates, and you have our coaches who will guide you. And we have experienced people within the academy that will show you how to function on a project, either as a project manager, a project PMO analyst, a privacy analyst, a business analyst, and we have that collaborative way of working. So we are big about helping you to develop the hands-on experience, because that is what we believe will, 1, give you the confidence to ace your interviews, and 2, to be able to get a job such that you can hit the ground running. So for today, we are going to pop something in the chat. We are offering our normal charge for 16 weeks is $997. But my birthday offer, I think who has it now? Jen, if you can pop it in the chat. If there's anybody who wants to join, put it in type it in. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's there. So I will say, yeah, click on it. This is an offer we have never done, and it's only available for 48 hours or everything goes back. So if you're interested in joining the academy, you have access to a learning portal that has several training videos. There is a payment structure in the second one. So click the link. And my birthday offer, we've never done this $750, never, for our 4 months program. So it's only valid for 48 hours. Now, if you pay in full, I think you pay $750 or so, or $700 between now and 48 hours. If you want to split the cost, you can make a first installment deposit, and then I think the next 3 or so weeks you pay the balance. And this offer is only available for 48 hours for anybody who wants to join the academy. So the link is there. So this is the one time, and that's the installment. It will also be posted in the WhatsApp group for anybody who wants to join. And trust me, we have a very supportive team. So people, that will guide you. Of course, I'm there, and we have trainers. We just hired 2 new coaches who are in CV writing department. So they don't write your CV, but they will guide you. And we have CV templates. We have interview prep sessions that we call CV cleaning that I personally have taken. I'm sure there's close to 12 or 15 of those recordings. They're all there. Your LinkedIn optimization, how to job search for tech jobs, how to write your CV to make sure it's ATS compliant. You have access to all of that 24/7 access to our tools for project management, for business analysis. We have templates for everything. So we don't leave you to figure it out. We're a close-knit team, so you always get support. So if you're interested, the link has been dropped. Go ahead, click the link. There is either you pay in full or you split the payment. So we have gone well over time. I hope this has been useful. And if you feel that maybe you're not ready yet, you can just take away what we've talked about, do more research. Now, this is just a success story. I think we've already talked about this. So I just want to have an idea quickly as we round up. Can you type in the chat, what is your area of interest? So that gives me an idea. So are you BA? Are you team BA, team PM, or team data privacy? Okay, so a bit more about how we do stuff, okay? You start first of all by attending our theory sessions. We have experienced trainers with years of experience within the tech space. And it is usually, we start I think 4 sessions now of 16 hours in total. So you do, and funny enough, we've never done this. We are giving a hybrid offer. So it's either you are BA/PM or you are privacy/PM. The PM is the common denominator. You have to learn project management. So, and this is, can I tell you, our hybrid offer normally used to be 2,250. So for these two, but I just thought, okay, let me do something for my birthday. So if you go on our website, you see it's different, okay? So you actually have those two. We start with theory classes over the weekend, where a tutor-led session is, holds, and we will teach you the theory bits. We just scratch the surface here. We'll teach you the theory bit over the weekends. The weekends sometimes depends on the trainer. Some trainers prefer, like Olaide is one of our trainers. She prefers early morning. We have other trainers. We have Coach Australia who likes midday, evening. So it's quite flexible, but we do them across Saturdays because all these guys work. Then the day that you work on projects is usually in the evenings. Now we say, don't leave your job. We say, skip your job, your customer service job, your care job. We have a lot of people in care that have shift work. We have a lot of nurses. We say, don't leave your job yet, keep it. So you do your 9-to-5 job or your shift job. But then when you start working on projects at evenings, most times from 7 to 9, and it depends, and the project teams are very flexible. So you might find a group of people who are all maybe nurses or in care, and they have shift work, so they can just decide on the days that they meet that favors them. So we don't tell you, we allow the team to decide what favors them, and it is usually dependent on what works majority. We can't cater to every individual, but what works for majority. So it's usually in the evenings that you work on projects, and it's all collaboration. It's all done remotely. You don't have to go anywhere. You can join from anywhere. And that's pretty much, and the project, you have a full access. So you see projects that we have done before. You have access to our Basecamp. Okay, I didn't mention that. Basecamp is where we have projects that are completed. So you can see how these projects have been done. You can see the documents, you can see the templates, it's all there. You have access to that, so that when you are now working on your own project, you know what to do. But I would love to be hybrid BAPM, that's fine. Team, okay, BAPM, that's fine. Team PM, data manager, brilliant. Team BA, okay, we have a lot of BAs. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so this is where I finish. Could do because to see, no, we won't give you our training modules. What do you mean by training modules? Go on the website, okay? Yeah, you can see there's some information there. There is some information about the course. So go onto our website, you can see the BA, even though we have modified and we only will give you, you go on the website, you will see the high level context. It's more detailed when you sign up, but it will give you an idea of what's there, okay? So guys, I think we have gone overboard, and I hope you found this useful. I hope some of you will join us. That's the link again. It will be posted in the group chat. This is the link. Click on it now. and join us. And it is available for the next 48 hours, after which it goes back to our normal fees. So this is where I end, and I wish you all the best. So 48 hours is what you have to take this offer. But if you don't take it within 48 hours, you can join us later. It's just that you pay the full fees. Okay. The link to sign up, can we repost it, please? Jen, the link to sign up, can you post that again? Just one time before I log out. Okay. Yep. So it's been posted. Somebody was asking. Melvina, it's been posted. That's the link. And the installment option is there. I wish you all the very best. So do your research, do some more work. So you're not ready to join us now, but if you are, you know where we are. So have a good evening and all the best. The recording will be sent out by Monday, because it's, of course, this is the end of today's Saturday evening. The recording will be sent out to everyone who has registered. And hopefully we welcome some of you into the academy. Have a good rest of the weekend. I need to take a picture of these pictures, if you guys don't mind, before I log out. Yeah, so the link has also been put in the WhatsApp group for those of you who are asking for the link. Okay, have a good evening and God bless. Bye-bye.